You're watching ICENET, independently covering New York Islanders hockey past and present, bringing you the tradition and nostalgia you know and love with a modern feel. This is where Islanders tradition and pride are always our number one. Built by passion for the orange and blue. Isles coverage. Taking a step into the future by reaching into the past. ICENET. Dynasties live here.
CBC Hockey Night in Canada, brought to you by Molson, Canada's name in beer since 1786. Brewers of Molson Golden. Canadian General Electric, progress for people since 1882. Canadian Tire dealers with 320 stores to serve you across Canada. And by the Ford Motor Company of Canada, on behalf of your Ford and Mercury dealers from coast to coast. The year is 1940, the last time the Stanley Cup resided in New York or environs as the Rangers defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not since then has the Stanley Cup been in New York, but today, the New York Islanders have a chance to win the Cup by beating the Philadelphia Flyers. The Islanders are led by many people, among them Dennis Potvin, captain number 5 on defense. And he scored the winning goal in the opening game of this series in overtime as the Islanders are on the power play. Potvin from Tonelli and Nystrom. Islanders win game 1, 4-3. The scoring leader in these playoffs has been Bryan Trottier of the New York Islanders. And he has 2 game-winning goals as the Islanders won the previous 2 games on their home ice. This is game 3 as the Islanders move to a 4-0 first period lead. The third of those 4 goals was by Trottier, and it stood as the winner as the Islanders won 6-2. Trottier on his way to a record-tying 27 playoff points. In game 4, it was Trottier on Gary Howitt's assist who broke up a tight game. It was 2-1 at this point. Trottier made it 3-1, and the Islanders went on to win 5-2 to get within 1 victory of the Stanley Cup. The Philadelphia Flyers have won 2 Stanley Cups in succession, the last one 1975. They must win today to have a chance at a 3rd cup on Tuesday. Their goal-scoring leader in these playoffs has been Bill Barber. He had a big series against Minnesota in the semis. He scored the winner in game 2 of the final, an 8-3 run for the Flyers over the Islanders. And in game 5, with the Flyers facing elimination, Rick McLeish came up big with 2 goals. His second goal was the winner as the Flyers extended the series. And today, this is Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final from the Nassau Coliseum, the home of the New York Islanders. In previous Stanley Cup Finals, the Nassau Coliseum has been empty. Today, the Nassau Coliseum is full, it is noisy. The New York Islanders and the Philadelphia Flyers are on the ice. You want atmosphere? We've got it. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Hodge. Outside, it is about 90 degrees. Thanks to air conditioning, we are cool here in one sense. It is red hot in another, as these fans have been screaming since they got in the building. And they will continue screaming all day long. The Islanders and the Flyers, our commentators are Jim Robson, Dick Irvin, and Gary Dornehoffer. And let them go now.
All right, Dave Hodge, the New York City team has never won the Stanley Cup on home ice in the NHL's modern era. And the Islanders do it today. I'm Dick Irvin, along with play-by-play commentator Jim Robson, our analyst Gary Dornehoffer. We are situated in the midst of this screaming crowd of 15,000. The fans are convinced they'll see history. Now, Hodge in the national anthem.
Jim Robson trying to out-talk 16,000 roaring fans. As you look at the officials, Bob Myers is the referee, joined there by Leon Stickle and Ron Finn. Myers, 39 years of age, checking with his goal judges right now. Myers is from Coketown, Ontario. As you look at the goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers in the road uniform of the Flyers, Pete Peters, a 22-year-old rookie with 8 wins and 4 losses in the playoffs, including a shutout. He's won 2 and lost 2 in the final. A workhorse of the playoffs, Billy Smith appearing in his 20th playoff game to equal a record for the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's won 14 and lost 4 in the playoffs. Gary Dornehoffer, I hope we don't sound like we're going to be shouting all afternoon, but that's what we might have to do.
Jim, all along I've been saying it, you know, it's great to retire, but I wish I was down there right now. The tension, the enthusiasm is going to be tremendous today.
The game underway, the Islanders in the home uniforms, white with blue and orange. The Flyers in their road, orange with black and white. As Bob Daly pass was almost intercepted. This is Bobby Clark. Reg Leach is 27, shooting the puck in as he's knocked down by Dennis Potvin, and the puck is steered to center ice. The Flyers have Daly, number 2, and DuPont, number 6, on defense. Up front, Clark is 16, flanked by number 7, Barber, and number 27, Reg Leach. The Islanders' Bob Lorimer has the puck on defense with number 5, Potvin. This is Bob Bourne, joined by Trottier on the left. Can't reach the pass. Put it around behind the net. It goes to Barber in the corner. Trottier, Bourne, and Bossy, the starting forward line from New York. Reg Leach's shot hit Potvin, who steered the puck out. This is Bourne. The Flyers are on a change. The shot is stopped by Peters. Had a little trouble with it, but he stopped it, covering the short side. As Philadelphia on a line change almost got caught. In goes Ken Linsman. Holmgren's shot. The play was offside, but you didn't hear the whistle in the roar of the crowd. Lane and Holmgren are squaring off as if to fight. Holmgren still hasn't dropped his stick. Lane has. And the shoving match goes on as the officials try to keep a lid on things. We've played 1 hectic minute. We're going to cool them out. Pat Quinn and his Flyers looking on from the bench. They need a win to stay alive. The Islanders with a win will win their first cup. Leon Stickle talking to Jack McElharty in behind Bourne. And cooled them off from the Nassau Coliseum, Uniondale, New York. This is Stanley Cup 80.
Lane of the Islanders. He's in the penalty box along with Paul Holmgren. They have both been sent off 2 minutes high sticking at the 1-minute mark in this first period.
I'm Jim Robson with Gary Dornehoffer and Dick Irvin. Dave Hodge and Don Cherry also with us for Hockey Night in Canada. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. Teams are 5 aside. Wilson shot deflects high into the crowd. Holmgren and Lane got minors for high sticking at 1 minute. So at this stage, the teams are 5 aside. Pat Quinn, this year's winner of the Coach of the Year award, the Adams Trophy.
And raised a few eyebrows, Gary. He made reference to the comment about the Islanders not being able to win the big one in the playoffs, which I think you can forget about now, but Quinn brought it up after the game in Philly Thursday.
Well, a lot of gamemanship going on. Of course, Pat, you ask him about this series. He said, just imagine how many guys wish they were in the same situation we're in. Not only myself behind the bench, but the players competing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Flyers are certainly concerned about the fast start that the Islanders have been getting. They've been outscored 9-4 in that first period, and perhaps they may change their forward checking a little bit, possibly only send one man in and have 2 guys picking up the wings. That'll be a closer checking format, but you don't get many good chances against you. We'll see as the game progresses.
Potvin has the puck back of the net. No score in the game. Dennis Potvin, the captain of the Islanders. Moving in on Ben Wilson. The shot right on. Peters knocks it down, covers it up. Not dressed for the Flyers today. 5 players who took the warm-up. Frank Bay, Dennis Vervegard, Gary Morrison, Norm Barnes, and the player injured in Game 5, Tom Gorentz.
Gorentz, John Paddock, who scored a goal in one of the games here earlier in the series, is in uniform. No changes for the Islanders. They have been unbelievably healthy throughout the entire playoff campaign. They've made only 1 roster change during the playoffs. That was when Mike Bossy was injured earlier on. He missed 5 games.
Dick, we might wonder if that will be a factor. You know, the Flyers have only had 1 day rest prior to this 6th game, and perhaps some of those injuries are, questionable. We will see.
Holmgren and Watson have come back to play after being injured earlier in the series. Busnick of the Flyers coming out. Looking ahead to Barber, can't reach the pass, it slides to Billy Smith, pushing it to the corner for Langevin. Barber bounced him. Wayne Merrick is number 11 of the Islanders as Langevin is bounced by Barber. This is Stephen Pearson with the puck. Flipped it over Barber's stick to Langevin. No score, nearing the 2-minute mark. Langevin to Merrick, joined by Tonelli. Tonelli from behind the net, centering it for Merrick. Tonelli going to the puck, Peter scooped it away. Stephen Pearson to Langevin. Back for Pearson. There's a lot of early line juggling as they try and match up forward lines. Of course, the home coach has the last say in that, but a lot of changes on the fly might dictate who plays against who. Flyers on another fast change. Langevin with the puck. Moving in on Daly, who knocked him down. Good clean check. The crowd doesn't agree, but now there's going to pay a penalty for high sticking to Moose DuPont. Daly had thrown the good body check. Daly is looking anxious, but I think DuPont is going to get the penalty. Tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Nassau Coliseum, Uniondale, New York.
DuPont in the penalty box for high sticking at 2:24. Not a good penalty, Gary. Daly had just made a super check on Lajbed. He had 2 good body checks in the game so far. Flyers had control. DuPont was caught.
Well, it seems that the Islanders just wait for this situation. 13 power play goals so far. That's the reason that they have this 3-2 lead in series. And they've certainly got the right guys out there. Watch them move that puck around. And the situation 4 against 3 is ideal for them.
And there's one of the key players, Brian Trottier, leading the playoffs in scoring with a record-tying 27 points. Stephen Pearson with the puck. Out there with Potvin, Bossy, and Trottier. Potvin turning away from Clark. The pass to the inboards for Bossy, centering it. Trottier couldn't control it. Now steers it back to Potvin. Over to Stephen Pearson. It's a little tight, having trouble controlling the puck, and Clark comes up with it with Daly. They're 2-on-2. Clark will kill some time, plays it back into his own zone to Jim Watson. He's come back to play with a very sore shoulder, clearing the puck down the ice. There's 3 seconds left in penalties to Lane and Holmgren. They come on the ice. There's Paul Holmgren. But the Islanders still have the man advantage. Now 6 against 5. Teams look a little tight, the way they're handling that puck, which goes out of play at the New York bench.
Well, that's something we talked about. You know, for the Islanders, the heat is on them today. They're not even thinking about a 7th game, but they're worrying about this one. I'm sure they were nervous before the game. We look at Mike Bossy, and it's important for the Islanders to get off of that good start, to give them confidence, to ease some of the tension, just as much so as for the Flyers to keep them off the board. because the longer the game goes, it may swing over the Flyers' favor.
1:15 left in the penalty to DuPont, which was assessed at 2:24. Islanders with a man advantage. Bossy upset Bridgman on the face-off. The puck goes loose. Bossy bumped by Daly. Peters leaves the puck for Watson. Trottier checking him, tying him up. Clark Gillies to Trottier back of the net. Puck is underneath Watson, covering it up long enough to get a stoppage in play.
That face-off play when Bossy dumped Bridgman, Bobby Clark was on his feet in a minute, giving it to Bob Myers.
Ted Huff, and in between him, Ted Huff's wife. Ted Huff, of course, with CBC in Canada.
58 seconds left in the penalty to Moose DuPont of Philadelphia. We have 16:34 left in the period. That's the man they call Jethro. Clark Gillies, the big winger of the Islanders. Trottier is at center. Gillies is on the right side. Bossy on the left side. Pearson and Potvin are the point men. 58 seconds left in the penalty. Here is Gillies to Potvin, to Pearson, to Bossy. Now to Trottier. His shot tipped away by Peters, and Watson cleared it away for Philadelphia. Number 5, Potvin. Over to Pearson, the Swedish defenseman to Bossy to Potvin. Islanders on the power play. Potvin to Trottier. Barber tied him up. Now back to Gillies. Over to Bossy, but intercepted by Bill Barber for Philadelphia and cleared away. 22 seconds left in DuPont's penalty. Stepan Pearson to Mike Bossy. Bobby Clark checked him. Bossy. Now to Potvin. Into Loring to Gillies, and is shot wide by several feet. Daly back for Philadelphia. Cleared it. Potvin knocked it down, shot it wide. Here's Goring for the Islanders. Wilson tied him up and cleared it. DuPont is back on, and Clark clears to center. Philadelphia's killed off the penalty, and here's Leach trying to go around Potvin, who knocked it off his stick. Leach centered, a shot by Wilson, but Smith got a face-off. And now Potvin fires it off the boards into the Flyers zone, with Wilson back to get it. To Daly. He cleared to center, and it goes into the New York zone. Morrow in there, forecheck by Ken Linsman. Here's Bourne for the Islanders. Great skater, Bob Bourne, number 14, trying to go around Hill. And sliding across was Jim Watson to break it up. Here is Jimmy Watson to Hill. Morrow checked him, but Linsman speeds to center. Loose puck, Myrick back for the Islanders to get it. Holmgren into forecheck for Philadelphia. Now it comes to Gord Lane. To Morrow, who shot it to center. Wayne Sutter had it momentarily, and here's Linsman. Dumped it back in, and Lane, number 24, for New York. Almost lost it. Here's John Tonelli, number 27. Tonelli with Myrick and Nystrom into the Flyers zone. Tonelli shoots wide by 2 or 3 feet. And then McLeish cleared it to center for the Flyers. Morrow given a rough ride by DuPont against the boards. Now Bob Kelly and Nystrom in a fight just outside the Flyer blue line. Nystrom and Bob Kelly flail away at each other.
Those are two fellas that play the same style of game. They use their body, they're rough. They are the kind of people that usually get out there and give their club an inspiration. And many times you find them getting their sticks up, and this is what results.
Now Nystrom gets the right hand free, and he landed a couple.
The linesmen will stay apart and let them just finish it off as long as no one seems like they're getting hurt or no one goes down. And when they're through, they'll just break them up and let them go to the penalty box. They're probably pretty tired right now, wishing someone would step in there. But there's a little more shoving going around then, and that's one thing. The next person in that fight will be a third man in the fight, and he'll be ejected from the game. So no players are allowed to touch those two while they're fighting.
Now they have Nystrom and Kelly separated. Number 23, Bob Nystrom. And number 9, Kelly of Philadelphia. With 14:05 left in the first period, let's pause for a moment. coming up next, we're going to take you to Dublin, Ohio for live third-round action from the Memorial Golf Tournament. Last year, Al Geiberger had the hot hand. Stay with us and see the top touring golf professionals shoot for the 1980 title. Jack Nicklaus designed that golf course, so you know it's quite a test.
Well, Dan, we've lost our monitor here, but on the replay, we can see why Nystrom and Kelly go at it. Earlier, they had just collided over by the bench, and as we said at the top of the show, the Islanders say are going to be more physical, and Bobby Nystrom is probably as physical a player as the Islanders have, and he's going to be one to try and set the pace. It happened in front of the Flyer bench. He wasn't going to stand around and let the check just go, and that's why he got involved in the fight. That's Gary Howard sitting in the penalty box with Nystrom, and now we see Bob Kelly of the Flyers in there also. Nystrom's the one that initiated the fight. He got a roughing penalty, so he will serve 2 minutes extra, and the Flyers will have their first man advantage of the afternoon.
So Kelly gets just a 5-minute major for fighting. Nystrom of the Islanders gets a minor penalty for roughing, plus a 5-minute major penalty for fighting. So as a result, the Islanders will be shorthanded in Philadelphia in this scoreless game. Will have the man advantage. There's a pensive-looking Al Arbor at the Islander bench.
Then, as you might have seen, there's a few of the Islanders sprouting beards, and they began that before the playoffs started, and they said they wouldn't shave until the finals were over, and they said that they wouldn't shave until they won the cup. They were a little confident going in, maybe, but it looks like they've got an excellent chance. However, this Flyer club doesn't know the word die. They've been the top team in the National Hockey League all year long, and to beat them, you're going to have to put out a great effort.
They showed that when they faced elimination the other night and came up with a 6-3 victory in Philadelphia. Here's Philadelphia now on the power play. Ben Wilson, number 3, into Linsman. Linsman knocked down by Dennis Potvin, who'll get a penalty. Here is Barber to Paul Holmgren. Delayed penalty coming up against Potvin. Now Ben Wilson. Back to Barber. Barber into the corner for Linsman. Back to Barber. Shoots one. That deflects wide. And as Potvin gets the puck, Bob Myers, the referee, will send Dennis Potvin off for cross-checking.
And Dennis Potvin's really upset with his team one man down. He cross-checked right in front of Bob Myers at the blue line. Bob Myers was looking at it. He immediately signaled a delayed penalty. The Flyers pulled their goaltender because they had the puck. They don't have to have a whistle at that time. They tried to score. They had 6 men on the ice. But as soon as the Islanders got control, here's where Linsman gets cross-checked by Potvin. You'll see it plain as day, and Bob Myers calls the penalty right there. But the Flyers maintained control, and they had control until the puck was touched. Now, there's a 2-man advantage for the Flyers.
Yeah, because Nystrom still has a minute 26 to serve in his minor. Now he's joined by Potvin. So a big chance, 5 against 3, excluding goaltenders here for Philadelphia. That's the man who faced the barrage here, Billy Smith, who has won more games in the playoffs this year, 14 than any other goaltender in Stanley Cup history. Here's Morrow trying to clear it. It bounced in front of the net. Lane shoots it away. Now McLeish for Philadelphia to Barber. Flyers with a 2-man advantage. Ben Wilson fakes the shot. To Barber. Shooting, and he blasted it wide by 3 or 4 feet. Ben Wilson to Barber. Lane knocked it down. Barber again, number 7. To Ben Wilson. Into Reg Leach, back to Wilson. A drive, and he blasted it wide. Here's Lane. Islanders are 2 men short. Leach for Philadelphia. To Clark. To Wilson. To Barber. In front to Leach. Shoots, and he missed by a couple of feet on the short side. Barber. To Wilson. To Barber. Into the side of the net to McLeish. To Leach. Shoots. He scores! Reggie Leach. And Philadelphia with a 2-man advantage has taken the lead.
Rick McLeish makes a fine pass to Reggie Leach over on the right side. You'll see McLeish right here get the pass, and look, he gives it to Leach, who beats Billy Smith quickly. Goaltender Billy Smith with no chance, and Reggie Leach with his first goal of this final series. A fine play by Rick McLeish right here. Backhand pass across, right to Leach. He doesn't even stop it. He just puts it away, and the Flyers go ahead, 1-0.
For Reggie Leach, that's his first goal in this final series.
Well, here's Billy Smith looking over to Rick McLeish, and he really can't react as quickly as the puck can travel, and that's McLeish Leach right there, putting it through his legs.
Leach from McLeish and Barber, the scoring play. Now here's Philadelphia still with a one-man advantage. Not a two-man advantage anymore, but still a one-man advantage as Lane for the Islanders cleared it out, and Holmgren tied him up, and he's going to get a penalty. Paul Holmgren will get a hooking penalty. And now Lane and Linsman jab at each other with their sticks.
We look at that goal again, and here's the pass coming across, and Rick McLeish passes it to Reggie Leach, and Reggie Leach is one fella you're going to have to watch all day, because as we said, that's his first goal of the finals, and he's usually one of their top gunners. He and Billy Barber are dangerous men around that net.
And on that last play, Holmgren got a penalty for Philadelphia. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment. Paul Holmgren in the penalty box. He goes off at 7:42. And on that penalty call, we almost had another altercation breakout. But there's Holmgren going to the penalty box. Here's the announcement of penalties.
Penalty to number 14, Bob Bourne. They each get 2 minutes for delay of game. Time of the penalties, 7:42. That's Linsman and Bourne, 2 each for delay of game at 7:42.
After Holmgren was called on the penalty, Linsman and Bourne got together and they start jostling one another. And referee Bob Myers, as you see right there, checking the clock, he thought that they were just delaying the game a little too long, and so he gave them both a penalty. And this thing is going to work to the Islanders' advantage after their penalty is over, because they're going to have a man advantage for a while on a 4-on-3 situation.
So the original penalty was called on Holmgren, and then Bourne and Linsman kept jabbing away at each other, and they get delay of game penalties. Each team, at this point, 2 men short. 1-0, Philadelphia leading on a goal by Reggie Leach on a power play. Here is Henning for the Islanders. Lorne Henning, number 10. Dropping one back for Morrow. Morrow, number 6 for the Islanders. Trying to get around Jimmy Watson. Shoots off the shoulder of Pete Peters. Now Watson tied up Morrow. And Busnick for Philadelphia gives to Mel Bridgman, number 10. In against Gord Lane. Bridgman around Lane. Backhander, Smith to save. Rebound. Busnick man down it, and Morrow comes up with it for New York. Here's number 6 for the Islanders. Morrow with a shot right along the ice, and Peters a stick save. Flyers drop it back, and Busnick passes to Dupont, back to Busnick, and it's cleared away. Now Philadelphia with the man advantage. Islanders are 2 men short. Or pardon me, the Islanders with the man advantage. Philadelphia 2 men short. Islanders only 1. Here's Potvin. He centered one, and Dupont is there to tip it away. 42 seconds left in the penalties. But right now it is a 4-against-3 power play for the Islanders. Ryan Trottier to Dennis Potvin. He's bumped by Dupont. Now Trottier tied up by Clark. Back of the net, gets it to Bossy. To Dennis Potvin. To Pearson. Pearson centered one, and Clark breaks it up. Dupont is able to clear it outside the blue line. Islanders still with about 12 seconds left in this power play chance. Dennis Potvin to Trottier. Over on the right side to Bossy, and he shot it wide. Bossy on right wing missing. Here's Dennis Potvin. Penalized players come back on. Teams at full strength. Daly and Trottier to the corner. Now it's Linsman for Philadelphia. Kenny Linsman, number 14. Waits for some help. Now carries in. Linsman with a shot, and off the left glove of Smith, the goaltender. Islanders Trottier to Bossy. Bossy against Jimmy Watson. They're tied up and jam up in the corner. And the Flyers come up with it, and now a penalty call back of the net as Busnick and Clark Gillies were tied up, and from the reaction, I would think the penalty is only going to be against Busnick of Philadelphia. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment. Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on the CBS Sports Spectacular, see the top-ranked and undefeated WBA contender, Jerry Cooney, enter the ring to take on 6th-ranked contender, Jimmy Young. You'll also see live coverage of portions of the Charlotte 600. And we'll be showing you a feature in our intermission on that Charlotte 600, as well as hearing Tim Ryan interview Jim Watson.
That's a good play by Busnick, screening Billy Smith so Bridgman gets a chance for a goal there.
Here are the Islanders. Busnick got a penalty on that last play, so Islanders on the power play again. Here's Barber in across the New York line, and it's offside at the Islander blue line.
Dan, one thing about this Flyer Hockey Club, they're dangerous even when they're a man down. That was Billy Barber right there. He's one of the keys. Whenever they get advantage of that puck in their own zone, they'll break for a goal. Earlier in the playoffs, when they were shorthanded 83 times, they gave up 7 goals, but they scored 6. So they only had a net of 1 when they were shorthanded.
In the final series, the Islanders have had 13 power play goals to 6 for Philadelphia. That's been a major difference. Islanders right now with the man advantage. Busnick went off at 10-15 for Holden. Here's Persson to Dennis Potvin. Potvin looks to Goring. Feeds it in along the right wing boards. Ben Wilson back for Philadelphia. Persson held it in for New York, but handed it right to Wilson, who clears it the length of the ice. Billy Smith, the goaltender, sends it up for Potvin. He's a key man on this Islander power play. Potvin to Goring. Butch Goring, slap shot. Peters makes the save and grabbed the rebound before Bourne could get to it. And the rookie Pete Peters appears to be shaken up.
You'll see the Islander people shooting from far out a great many times, because if Peters has one weakness that they're shooting for, they like to shoot on his glove side up high. This is the scoring race in the playoffs. Trottier with 27 points has tied Esposito and Frank Mahovlich as an all-time record for most points scored in a Stanley Cup playoff.
And has a chance, of course, with another point to break that all-time Stanley Cup record. That's Peters, the Flyer goaltender, being attended to.
It looks like his finger might have gotten hurt a little bit when he fielded that high shot from Goring from way out. They have different styles. Peters right here, as we see him waiting for the shots. He carries that glove almost inside his pad. And sometimes he has problems catching a puck, and that's where they'll be shooting. Billy Smith, on the other hand, sits back in his net quite a bit, and he gives you more angle to shoot for. So that's what both clubs will try to exploit, any weakness, if it is a weakness, on these fellas.
The 22-year-old rookie goaltender, Pete Peters, apparently all right. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment. We are back live at the Nassau Coliseum, Uniondale, New York. 8 minutes, 48 seconds left in the first period. There's Peters at 2.62 goals against average. Here's Trottier shoots, and he shot it wide with an open net staring him in the face. Oh, Trottier with a chance that I can't see how he missed. Here are the Islanders on the power play and trailing 1-0. Bourne, number 14. In along the boards, and Reggie Leach breaks it up to Dupont, who cleared it down into the Islander zone. Smith, the goaltender, giving it to Persson. Around in the boards to Bossett. 30 seconds left in the penalty. Islanders, Tonelli, number 27. John Tonelli trying to go around Ben Wilson. Center to Trottier in front. There's a chance by Bossy. Peters to save. They score! Dennis Potvin! And no goal, I believe, says referee Bob Myers. Let's wait and see.
Bob Myers signaled a goal at first. The Flyers are complaining that the puck was hit above Potvin's shoulder with the stick, which would have nullified it, but he's saying it's okay. He's going to count it. This game is tied, and Dennis Potvin, batting one right out of the air, has tied this game up.
The Flyers, led by Bill Barber, argue strenuously. Did Potvin hit it in with a stick above his shoulders? I would believe is the question.
Bob Myers is saying, I called it, I saw it. He's a referee. He's talking to Captain Mel Bridgman right now, and he's saying that it's okay. And so this game is tied up, and the Islander fans are going crazy.
Here's a look at it.
You see Tonelli going to the outside, centering the puck right in front. And as there's a scramble in front, you'll see Potvin coming in right here. He knocks it And had that blade been above his shoulder, which it looks like it could have been right there, Dan, at least it's shoulder level. If it's shoulder level, that's okay. But where the stick makes contact, maybe we can see it here, that's when it counts. Our first look, it looked like it could have been over the shoulder. We'll look, that's up high.
Yeah, but now he hits it down here.
Well, it doesn't matter if you follow through. If he made contact above the shoulder, that would have been no goal. But we can't tell from this angle.
Trottier gets an assist, so that's his 28th point of the playoffs. A new record, and the game is tied at 1-1. Power play goal by Dennis Potvin. Here's Watson, number 20, to Rick McLeish. He dumps it in. Bridgman for Philadelphia. Trying to center, and Langevin intercepts, and back he comes for the Islanders. Number 26, Langevin. Flipping one in front. Peters stopped it on the short side and cleared it, and here's Busting to McLeish. Gary Howard in there, forechecking, breaks it up for New York. To Wayne Merrick, and the shot is high. Tonelli for New York. Into the corner for Howard. Busnick for the Flyers gets it to Hill. To McLeish, one man back. It's McLeish against Langevin. Rick McLeish gets the shot away, but it was weak, and Smith caught it. And back comes Tonelli for the Islanders. Tonelli. Knocked down. And Holmgren has it for Philadelphia. Here's Linsman. Dropping it to McElhargy, number 29. Jack McElhargy trying to clear it through, and Gord Lane to Clark Gillies, who has a breakaway. Ben Wilson chasing him. Gillies shoots. Peters, sprawling save. And Brian Propp cleared it to center. Here's Sutter for the Islanders, clearing it in. Wilson shot it back out. Boring for New York to Lane. Now to Morrow. And Morrow shoots it in for the Islanders. Wilson is there to try and clear it. Propp got it outside the line. And Ken Morrow gives it to Lane. Lane firing it back in. Wilson for Philadelphia. To Propp. Trying to set up Ken Linsman. Morrow tied him up, and here's number 21, Butch Goring. To Clark Gillies. Over to Goring. Centers to Sutter. Shoots, he scores! Wayne Sutter!
And the Flyers are really mad. They think that goal was offside. And if we can catch it at the blue line, I think it was offside. A great play, however, a fine pass, and Dwayne Sutter put it upstairs. Here's Goring passing across to Sutter. But previous to that shot, the pass from Clark Gillies, as we see Bob Daly right there. Here's the pass back. That pass went back over the line, they're saying. That's why the Flyers are mad. And then Goring gives it across to Sutter, and he puts it upstairs. And boy, are the Flyers ever hot right now.
They have disputed both the goals. That one by the rookie Dwayne Sutter at 14:08. And the Islanders have a 2-1 lead.
And there was no question about that goal. It was offside. I saw the pass back from Gillies to... Here it is right here. Now watch it. He goes over the line. It's back out. See that? That's offside. That was an offside goal, and that's why the Flyers are upset.
Sutter put it into the top corner. Gillies and Goring get the assist at 14:08, and the Islanders have a 2-1 lead. Here's Dennis Potvin clearing one to Trottier. Now Daly shot it to center, and Bobby Clark drops it to DuPont. Here's Moose DuPont getting it into the Islander zone, and Dennis Potvin gives it to Lorimer. On right wing to Mike Bossy. To Trottier. Trottier moving in, centering one. Cleared away. DuPont has lost his stick, but Leach gets the puck for Philadelphia. Reggie Leach. To Daly. Now to Clark. To Bill Barber. Barber with a shot that is blocked by Lorimer, and Dennis Potvin takes over. Trottier, with just over 5 minutes left in the first period, cleared it down the ice. McLeish back for Philadelphia. To Daly. Here's Bob Daly with a shot off the goalpost and up over the glass and into the crowd. Daly just missing for Philadelphia. More Stanley Cup action in a moment. Dan Kelly, Lou Nanne, Tim Ryan at the Nassau Coliseum. 4:55 left in the period. 2-1 Islanders. Here's Jimmy Watson going back for Philadelphia. He's going to be Tim Ryan's guest in this intermission. His pass intercepted by Merrick. Watson and Merrick jam up in the corner and hold it there. And as we mentioned, number 20, Jimmy Watson. Now we have some high sticks. There's Bridgman and Nystrom into it.
Bridgman and Nystrom, Busnick and Nystrom, Watson and Nystrom. Nystrom's right in the middle of it. They were all trying to get at Nystrom, figuring he kept the check a little too long after the whistle.
Let's have a look at that second Islander goal.
This is definitely offside. You'll see Gillies go across the blue line with the puck. He'll pass it out, back across the blue line, and Goring will take it in. Right here, the puck's out of the zone. Goring takes it across. Definitely an offside play, which should have nullified the goal. However, it wasn't called, and the Islanders lead 2-1. A fine goal by Sutter right there, beating Peters on the glove side up high. As we look at Bob Nystrom in the penalty box again. He's one of the leaders of this fine Islander hockey club, and there's a fella, Mel Bridgman, who just is definitely a leader, an inspirational force, and a tough checker on this Flyer hockey club. He's been one of their key men all through the playoffs. As we look at Busnick and Nystrom started off. Now here's Bridgman, number 10, getting involved.
Bridgman gets a 2-minute minor for roughing, plus a 10-minute misconduct. So does Nystrom.
Well, Bob Myers, the referee's trying to control this. He knows he's sitting on a powder keg. Tempers are very short. People are right now a little rambunctious, and they're going to take a few extra liberties anytime they get the opportunity.
Some outstanding work by our CBS crew in the videotape truck to get that offside play the way they did. And Lewitt, it brings up the old argument, should these replays come into an official's decision?
Well, actually, Dan, we like to say no because it's a spur-of-the-moment call, a judgment call. That's Wayne Merrick with a face mask. He had hurt his eye earlier in the season. He's continued to wear it. On that first goal, Myers had a better seat than we did, and he saw it, and he didn't think that goal was offside, or too high, and so he called it properly, and the second was offside. What can you say? The linesman was there, he just missed it.
It's 2-1 for the Islanders. Each team a man short as Pearson had trouble holding it in. Now Langevin, number 26. Over to Pearson. Back to Langevin. Here's Dave Langevin into the Flyer zone. Busnick trying to tie him up. Hill for Philadelphia, number 15, digs it off the boards. Al Hill trying to center one, and it's tipped by Pearson up the center ice. Here's Bob Daly, number 2 for the Flyers, to McLeish. And McLeish's shot goes off a stick and up over the glass and into the crowd as we see Billy Smith. 14 wins in this Stanley Cup playoff, more than any other goaltender in playoff history.
And this is what they're playing for, $20,000 for each player in the winning team and $15,000 for the loser. But it's not only the money. You look at that Islander club, not one of those players has ever been in this situation before with a chance to win the Stanley Cup. This youngster right here is only 19. That's Dwayne Sutter. He's out of Lethbridge junior team. He's sitting in the penalty box, sitting Bob Nystrom's minor penalty up, and he's all excited about playing here. That's a story in itself. 3 Sutter brothers in the National Hockey League. Brian, the captain of St. Louis, Darryl with Chicago, and Dwayne here with the Islanders.
Again, we remind you in our intermission, Jim Watson will be Tim Ryan's guest. Here are the Flyers from the faceoff, whose DuPont shot is wide of the net. And Trottier for the Islanders to Bourne. Bourne getting it across the line. And then the play is called on an offside. Will be as well in that first intermission as beating Jimmy Watson, the player defenseman, as we now look at the Islander player Bob Bourne. We'll have a feature on the World 600. We'll bring you up to date in the golf tournament. Have our leaderboard to bring you up to date, all in our first intermission. We've had quite a first period. The Islanders are leading 2-1. Dennis Potvin, Dwayne Sutter scoring for New York. Reggie Leach for Philadelphia. There's DuPont and Bourne tying each other up, and we're going to have a penalty to Moose DuPont of Philadelphia for holding.
Well, referee Bob Myers made the call there. DuPont did definitely hold Bourne along the left boards as Bourne was trying to get away. And Bob Myers going to the box, whistling the Flyers off. Right now, that's Moose DuPont sitting out a holding penalty with 3:35 to go in this period. Andre DuPont, one of the very effective Flyer defensemen, along with Bob Daly in this series. Here, he just grabs Bourne right around and turns him. And right there is where Bob Myers made the call.
So a big chance again for the Islanders. A 4-against-3 power play. They have scored a power play goal in this game. So did Philadelphia. So power plays have been a big difference in this series. 14 now for the Islanders to 6 for Philadelphia. And a 4-against-3, Lou Nanne, of course, is an even more dangerous type of power play.
That's right, Dan. You get more room to operate than a 5-against-4. You got a 5% better chance, and you could really pass the puck around a lot quicker and a lot crisper with all that room out there. There's the leader of the Flyers, 16, Bobby Clarke.
An assistant coach and still an inspirational player. Here's Trottier on this Islander power play. To Persson. Persson, a drive, and he blasted it wide. Dennis Potvin into Bossy. In front to Trottier, and it's tipped away by the Flyers. Persson. Stefan Persson to Potvin. Shoots one. Peters takes it against his chest and held onto it.
And that's what the Flyers are trying to do, have the Islanders shoot the puck from way out. Big Bob Daly back in front is clearing the net along with Busnick. We'll see right here, Potvin taking the shot. Peters can see it all the way. Bob Daly coming in to help in case there's a rebound. As we look at Peters, we've got to talk about Bobby Clarke, who will be taking the face-off. There's no athlete that better epitomizes a dedicated, inspirational guy and a quality hockey player than Bobby Clarke. This is the captain of the Islanders, Dennis Potvin, but Clarke used to be the captain of the Flyers, now he's assistant coach and one of the quality players in all of sport.
Trottier wins the face-off to Bossy, to Persson, to Potvin. Here's Dennis Potvin to Persson. Fakes the shot as Daly kept an eye on him. Dennis Potvin to Bossy, to Potvin, to Persson. Shoots one, and he shot it wide. It may have hit a stick in front of the net. Here's Potvin. Still the Islanders on a 4-against-3 power play. Peters gets his arm on Potvin's shot. Now Bossy for New York. Here's Sutter back on. Now Persson trying to center one. Only DuPont is in the penalty box now, as Prop for Philadelphia is able to clear up the center ice. Persson for the Islanders, who still have the man advantage. Daly breaks the play up, and McLeish for Philadelphia to Daly. To Barber. Bill Barber. Well wide with his backhand shot. Sutter dropping it back, but Barber intercepts. Potvin checked him. 30 seconds left in DuPont's penalty. McLeish breaks it up. In against Gord Lane. Here's McLeish. Wrist shot, and Smith took it against his chest, and back comes New York. Clark Gillies to Goring. Goring slides it into the corner. Wilson for Philadelphia. Trying to clear it. Gillies on the boards, knocks it down. Gets it back to the net for Sutter. McIlhargey checked him. Jack McIlhargey and Blaine Sutter. Sutter comes up with it in front to Gillies. Spectacular save by Peters on Clark Gillies. And it's cleared down the ice. DuPont is back on. Here's Gord Lane to Merrick. And Prop checked him. Now Merrick to Tonelli. DuPont checked him. Prop has it. To Holmgren into Linsman. Linsman is checked by Gord Lane. Now Holmgren in front to Prop. He scores! Rookie Brian Prop has just tied the game at 2-2.
And tenacious forechecking by Holmgren and Linsman after they gained the zone. Finally freed up Brian Prop, who was all alone in front of the net. This youngster out of Brandon, Manitoba, who's had a sensational rookie season, is dangerous around the net. Here's Holmgren fighting hard for that puck. He comes up with it, and now he'll spin around. He stops that puck and backhands it right to Prop all alone in front. And Prop quickly beats a sprawling Billy Smith to tie the game with only 1:02 in this first period.
A minute 2 to play, and Brian Prop on a great setup from Holmgren has just tied it. Here's another look at it, Lou Nanne.
And that's Brian Propp getting away from the Islander defenseman all alone in front.
Here's Morrow with less than a minute to play in the period to number 8, Howitt. Gary Howitt slides one into the Philadelphia zone. Here's Propp, who just scored that goal. Getting it to Dupont, who slides it down into the zone. And that's Ken Morrow back for the Islanders. He was one of the defensive stars of the U.S. Olympic gold medal victory. Here's Morrow trying today to put his name on the Stanley Cup, firing it into the Flyer zone. And Barber is back to get it for Philadelphia. 24 seconds left in the period. Now it is Daly at center for Clark. Lorimer, number 4 for the Islanders, back to touch it, and as he does, an icing call against Philadelphia, and with just 16 seconds left in the period, a face-off in the Flyers zone, and you can bet that that man, Bobby Clark, will take the face-off.
Just look at that man's face. He goes in there, he forechecks. He's the best forechecker in the National League. He's a fella a lot like Dave Keon that plays for Hartford. He's perpetual motion, always comes up with the puck. This man, Bob Nystrom, is sitting in the box, finishing off his misconduct along with Mel Bridgman as we get ready for a key face-off in the Flyer zone.
The scoring play to tie it was Propp, his 5th of the playoffs from Holmgren and Lindsman at 18:58. 2-2 the score, 16 seconds left of the period, and the top face-off man on either team, Trottier and Clark, will duel this one out as the linesman Leon Stickle patches up the ice. Leon Stickle and Ron Finn, by the way, are the linesmen here today, joining the referee Bob Myers.
And Bobby Clark is leading all face-off men in this series with 57%. That's Reggie Leach's right winger that he even played junior with, and 1 year had over 60 goals in the National League. And I believe it was 19 in the Stanley Cup playoffs to set another record.
16 seconds left. Clark and Trottier on this key face-off. Let's see who wins the battle and wins the draw. Clark got it, but couldn't get it out, but then gets help from Barber, who did clear it to center. Lorimer gives it to Bossy. Clark is there to flip it back to center. Bossy dumping it back in. Peters leaves it to the side of the net. Here's Ben Wilson. Cleared it as the buzzer goes to end a very exciting first period here at the Nassau Coliseum. And 2-2 is the score as the teams leave the ice. After 1 period of play, Reggie Leach and Brian Propp have scored for Philadelphia as we see the Flyers. And now the Islanders head to their locker room. The Islander goals by Dennis Potvin and the rookie Dwayne Sutter. So an exciting first period and a 2-2 score here after 1 period of play. We'll have our first intermission for you in just 1 minute.
To be determined by a Name the Team contest, which has got another 7 days to run.
Could you give us your reaction on the successful transaction in moving Atlanta from Calgary and your purchase of the team?
Well, we only made the announcement yesterday morning. We don't have an office or a phone number in Calgary as yet. It happened so quickly, but apparently the Calgary Corral has 3,000 applications for season tickets already, so it looks like it's a great reception so far.
You are watching this Stanley Cup final, and I read a quote from you that you thought that the Calgary team might not be too far away from this very position, maybe even in a couple of years. Is that right?
Well, I think with perhaps 2 or 3 additions or deletions to the team, it would be great to have the Stanley Cup in that sort of bullring corral in Calgary.
Nelson, let us say that it's great to have Calgary in the National Hockey League. We thank you for your time and continue enjoying watching the game.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nelson Scalabrini, the new owner of the Calgary entry in the National Hockey League, formerly the Atlanta Flames. The score at the end of the first period of play, Philadelphia 2, New York Islanders 2.
After 1 period, the Philadelphia Flyers 2, the New York Islanders 2. Shots on goal favor the Islanders 13-6. Let's go to intermission studio, and here's Tim Ryan.
All right, thank you, Dan. With me is Jimmy Watson, a real courageous player. He's been playing in this series hurt, and he's in some pain right now. It's in the calcium deposits near your collarbone, Jimmy?
Yeah, right in the joint, Timmy. It's something that I've developed over the years, I guess, from getting hit at different times, and it's just been reactivated or aggravated, I guess you'd say. And it doesn't feel that great right now, but it doesn't feel that bad either.
You missed a game earlier in this series, and you were a noticeable absence out there. I know that you felt you had to play with the team facing elimination the other night. Is there any chance that you're not going to be able to finish this game? You're hurting right now, aren't you?
Well, it's in a little bit of pain, but I think at this time of the year, the situation being as it is in the Stanley Cup Finals, you want to play, but of course you don't want to jeopardize your team either. And that's a decision that I have to make, I guess, along with the coach. It feels pretty good. I don't think it's going to bother me that much, Tim.
Jimmy Watson is the heart of the Flyers' defense. Those of you who are hockey fans know that. Those of you who maybe don't realize the importance of having Watson in the lineup. He's the key man back there, the veteran. He's been on those Stanley Cup championship teams. A couple of tainted goals scored against you in the first period. What were your views on the two Islander goals?
Well, Tim, I'll tell you, the first one I thought that somebody knocked it down with a high stick. I was on the ice at the time, and I turned around, and all of a sudden I see the puck on the net, and I see a couple high sticks, and I thought possibly it went off a Potvin stick, but then again, I couldn't really tell. And on the second goal, I thought for sure it was offside.
Well, the replay on the first goal I don't think was conclusive. It appeared that it was John Tonelli who knocked the puck down, and the stick may or may not have been above the shoulder. Had it been above the shoulder, play would have been whistled dead, and Potvin's shot into the net wouldn't have counted. On the second one, the replay would have clearly indicated that it was brought in offside. Gillies' drop pass was brought in offside by Butch Goring. Now, how do the Flyers manage to come back and tie it up? Are you ready to forget those two goals when you're tied at the end of the first period?
Well, Timmy, we're pretty happy with the situation. I mean, we're tied, and we knew the Islanders were going to come out flying. You know, this is their big chance, and they don't want to go back to Philly for a 7th game, so we knew that they'd be up for the game, and they want to win it here in front of their hometown. And we thought we'd come out with a tie after the first period. We'd be in pretty good shape, and we are. Although you look at the two goals they did score, and possibly we could have had the lead, but we can't let that bother us right now. We've got a team that I think has matured over the year. And I think we realize the situation, and we can't let things like this bother us. We just got to go out and keep our heads straight and play our game.
You do have a mature team, but you've got a rookie goaltender. What's the team's feeling about having a rookie between the pipes?
Well, he hasn't played like a rookie, Tim. Pete has done a super job for us all year, as Phil Muir has. We've gotten great goaltending throughout the whole year, and I think anybody in hockey would realize that you don't get anywhere unless you have the good goaltending, and we certainly have had it this year. Pete, we have all the faith in the world in him. I think that the other night we beat the Islanders 6-3, but the score wasn't really indicative of the play. The Islanders were in the game all the way, and Pete made some big saves for us at crucial times. So we have all the faith in the world in Pete, and we feel that we can go do the job the way he's done it for us. We should win this thing.
Jimmy, is your dad here all the way from Smithers, BC?
Yeah, he's here rooting for us.
All right. His dad is quite a character, one of the great people in the National Hockey League. And, of course, Jim's brother Joe is a longtime player for the Philadelphia Flyers and retired last year. Jimmy, we wish you the best of luck. You've got a courageous team. I know that you're planning on going back to Philadelphia for a 7th game. Good luck.
Thank you, Timmy. Thank you.
Jimmy Watson. Let me now pause for this word from your local stations.
The score is 2-2 at the end of one period of play, the Flyers and the Islanders, and two of the more or most interested observers in the building are the rival general managers Keith Allen to my far left and Bill Torrey beside me. Keith has been through this before, and I wonder whether you ever get calm in a situation like this, having done it before.
Well, I don't think you're ever too calm. It's very important for both of us. Of course, we're in a life and death struggle here to win this game, to stay alive, and of course Bill's in a position where they can wrap it up today and start celebrating. So we feel adrenaline flowing the same as the players, I think.
And Bill Torrey is in his first Stanley Cup final, and I know you're nervous.
A little bit, Dave, a little bit. But what can I do? Just sit and watch like everybody else can.
Do you think back to 1972 when the Islanders were first formed, and this seemed a long, long way off, maybe even longer than 8 years?
No, I haven't had time yet to really think about 72. That was a long year, so, no, I'd rather dwell on the present.
Keith, how about the Stanley Cup triumphs? Are they still fresh in your memory, 74, 75?
Oh, I don't think I'll ever forget those. They're something that every person that's in hockey tries to achieve, and they're some of our most treasured memories, I'll tell you that.
When we talk about nerves and how you cope with pressure and what's going on the ice, how different is it for you now as the general manager than it was as a coach?
Well, I think as a coach, you're more involved in the game. You can do something about it. At least you feel you can. Up there, Bill and I are sitting there, really not being able to do anything about it. It's in the hands of the players and the coach. So I'm a little more nervous now than I was as a coach.
You sit near each other or close to each other?
Well,
I don't really even know where you're sitting.
No, we don't.
Are you walking? A lot of times I get up and walk, move around different parts of the building, but here generally I stay up the top of the press box. And, I have a monitor up there so I can take a look at what's going on the ice and also see the replays.
Keith, do you have any comment on the Islander goals, of which there was a dispute on each one?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the second goal was outside. It was clearly missed by the linesman. It was outside a foot, and it's too bad because I don't think Bill or I want to get involved in this type of controversy on a very important game like this. But the first goal I couldn't comment on. I haven't seen it on replay. It was a decision by the referee. Other than that, I haven't seen either replay right now.
Bill, the greeting that the team got and has received throughout these playoffs has to make you as happy as anything short of winning the Stanley Cup. And I think that as far as the noise level is concerned, I don't know how I could compare this to anything I've ever heard.
Well, the fans are very excited. You know, they've kind of grown up with their team. And as Keith knows, because the same thing happened in Philadelphia, I think there's a different feeling for a team when you start, and they, in a sense, it's like your children. They see them come along and make progress, and so I think there's a real identity with our fans to the team.
And we don't have to ask Keith whether he would like to see the Philadelphia fans get a chance to be noisier still on Tuesday. I know you would. I thank you both for taking time, and go back to your respective seats and bite the nails if that's the case. Keith Allen and Bill Torrey and Don Cherry comes along in the Coach's Corner as we return with the Stanley Cup playoffs in just a moment. In Don Cherry's Coach's Corner, this one titled Meetings with Armand, or
something like that.
I think everybody would like to know your reaction to what has happened in Denver in the last week.
Ex-Coach's Corner. Well, I don't know. You know, let's put everything in perspective. They've been in, Colorado was in the cellar for 6 years. And they give me 6 months. I just heard you talking to Bill Torrey. It's taken 8 years to Al Arbor to get him here, and they give me 6 months. Now, I know I'm good, but I don't think I'm that good. And we drew 150,000 more people, but I have no animosity towards Armand. He's a nice little fella, and I like his dad that give him the job. He's a nice little fella.
The reason he used was that you did not teach well enough the young players.
Isn't that something, eh? Well, give me something to teach, and I'll teach them. You know what I'm talking about? I guess Ricky Middleton and a few guys like that, and Bobby Miller in Boston. And it's a funny thing, he went down to Fort Worth and asked the young guys down there if I was teaching them down there. Strange, but no sour grapes, as he said. On to better things. And as Blue says, when he says, you see Dave, tell him it's tough to soar like an eagle when you're mixed up with turkeys.
Has his nose given you any hint of where you might be next year?
The Eagles taking care of that. Al Eagleson's taking care of that. I'm not going to let my heart rule my head anymore. I'm going to not jump in. I went from the frying pan to the fire, and I'm not going to do it again.
Did you have any inkling during the season that you might not be there next year?
Well, it might have been the first exhibition game. I got Ray Muir, and I had that. I think that's how you spell it. Or is it an O in there? I'm not sure. But anyhow, you'll have to figure that one out. Yeah, I think about Christmas, and I think when I tried to straighten out McEwen on how to play hockey, they wanted me to give the Dale Carnegie thing, and after I read the list of indictments at the Pierce, I think it was 6 pages they did on me, I thought it was Attila the Hun. I would have fired me anyhow.
Don, you've been fired in newspapers before. You've had the dull axe, as you call it, hanging over your head before. But did that disturb you in this instance, that the papers were full of Herb Brooks and everything else, and that until you found out officially, everybody else knew you were gone?
I was like the wife. I was the last to know, and they did their usual job with a real dull axe, and you know, it was just brutal. They kept us dilly-dallying around for 10 weeks. Hey, listen, if they don't want me here, it's Colorado's loss, somebody else's gain. But keep us, and the fans are in an uproar over there. They're picketing. I heard there's bomb threats, and that's a good franchise. That franchise can go, but it's not going to go now. I guarantee it.
You don't think that there have been thoughts right from the beginning to move to the Meadowlands?
No, I don't think that at all. In fact, I was talking to Brian O'Neill. They can't. And I guess I just come on too strong, but that's what they wanted me to do. 150,000 more people in the building. You multiply that 8, somebody told me that's over $1 million for them, and they still didn't like it. I come on strong. That's the way I am, and I can't help it. And that's why the players love me and the fans love me. But let's forget about that. We got the Stanley Cup final, and it's a good one. And I'll tell you, that hurt the Islanders getting scored on the last minute. I know how Al Arbor feels now.
Just itching to talk about what he's watching, and we will do that in more detail in the second intermission on the ex-coach's corner, as you say. Now let's go for the second period of play. From the coach's corner to the broadcast booth, and Jim Robson, Gary Dornehoffer, and Dick Irvin.
Thank you, Dave Hodge. There's the score after one period of play, and quite a period it was. We had 52 minutes in penalties. Make that 54 minutes in penalties, 29 to the Flyers and 25 to the Islanders. Leach's goal was when the Islanders were 2 men short, assisted by McLeish and Barber. Potvin, the controversial high stick goal from Bossy and Trotty on a power play. Sutters on a play that appeared to be offside from Gillies and Goring. Also controversy on that one. Brian Propp's goal assisted by a Holmgren and Linsman with 1 minute and 2 left in the period.
Well, the Stanley Cup is still up for grabs with the score tied 2-2. If there is a 7th game in this series, it will be played at the Spectrum in Philadelphia Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be on the air live from the Spectrum. Well, this is one of the 2 Islander goals. I don't know which the dispute, whether this is the offside. Now, there's the linesman waving. Oh, look at this.
Well,
the puck went back out over and back in again.
There's no question the puck was outside the line. The Flyers had a good view of it. Of course, they're sitting right on the blue line there. They could see it. We saw it on the replay.
Boy, the replays are great. The officials do not have them. Now, here it is.
Gillies will go over the blue line and drop the puck to Goring. Now, does the puck come out over the line, and does Goring bring it in?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
There's no question about it right there. Should have been called. It wasn't a big break for the Islanders because they did score on the play, but the Flyers came back in that last minute of play, and I'm sure Al Arbor, he's got to keep his troops alive. And they're in a downer right now, and it's important for the leaders of the Islander Hockey Club to get out there and make things happen now, and you have to forget about that.
Fans looking a little tense, too, as we start period 2.
Well, let's see. There's
Frank
some of the...
Bathe is...
Right.
Hey, guys.
Tom Gorence on your left, Frank Bathe with the shirt on with the beard there. They're players on the roster, but not in the lineup.
Joe Watson was ahead of them in that group. You notice Richmond talking to Stickle. I would imagine they are
reminding him.
That's right.
You know, as we look at Pete Peters, I think both goaltenders have been a little shaky this afternoon. And you can usually tell that when they start going down before the puck even originates. Bill Smith and Pete Peters both have done that this afternoon and have made some of the saves look more on the difficult side.
A lot of pressure on the officials. Bob Myers, his linesman Leon Stickle, and Ron Finn. It's unfortunate that 2 goals are already controversial ones. Potvins appeared to be put in with a high stick, and you saw Sutter's goal on a play that was offside. We're starting the second period. The Islanders in the white moving the puck. Flyers defending in their road uniforms, and an offside is called as Bob Bourne moved in ahead of Brian Trottier. Trottier used to play in a little group called Buzzin' the Boys.
Billy Smith, number 31, for the New York Islanders. And there is Pete Peters, who surrendered 2 goals in the first period, but he has played like a veteran, as Jimmy Watson, the veteran defense leader, told us during the intermission. Bobby Clark, number 16, Bill Barber, number 7, Reg Leach, number 27, the Flyer line. Bossy over the Philadelphia line, but Daly gets it for the Flyers. Bob Daly and Andre DuPont, the defense pair. Bourne broke up one pass, but Clark feeds to Barber. On the left wing side, Reggie Leach over to Bobby Clark, dropping it back, trying to get it up the boards. It came out at a bad angle, and the Islanders clear it to center ice. Bossy forechecking on DuPont. This is Big Bob Daly. Fakes the shot, now shoots it off the corner boards. Bob Lorimer and Dennis Potvin, the defense pair. That's Lorimer, number 4. His pass to Bourne is missed, but taken back by Bourne, and he skates up to center ice. Bourne with the speed lets it fly wide. It rebounds right into the slot, but Brian Propp has it for the Flyers, number 26. Propp, the rookie, who has scored once. To Leach, the drive, and an arm save by Billy Smith. Later got that off the shaft of his stick. In the corner, it's Dennis Potvin. Can't get it out. Brian Propp stealing the pass for Holmgren, the shot. Big save, Billy Smith. Coming out to take the angle on American board, Paul Holmgren.
And Billy Smith has to make a very difficult save there because Holmgren was all alone on the right side. As we watch this play develop, here's Linsman, a very clever puck carrier, giving it to Prop, and Prop feeding it across. Holmgren with a good shot, but Billy Smith is right there to make the save and cover up on the rebound with Holmgren following in. Holmgren making a big difference since he came back from that injury after sitting out Game 4 for these Philadelphia Flyers.
Paul Holmgren playing with a bad knee. Jimmy Watson with a bad shoulder. Bob Daly with a bad shoulder. The Flyers got some guys hurt, but they are trying to stave off elimination for the second game in a row. Linsman number 14, Holmgren 17, Prop 26 the line for Philadelphia. Butch Goring 21, Gillies 9, and Brian Trottier is out on the right wing. He'll probably go off as soon as he can to be replaced by Dwayne Sutter. We'll talk about that in a moment or two. Lane's pass is deflected out at the line and offside is called.
You see right there, the Islanders are trying to have Philadelphia defensemen pull out of their zone, so the two wings came right outside the blue line, pulling those defensemen out, and they're trying to come out a little easier because Philadelphia was giving them some problem, jamming up along the boards and not allowing the Islanders to come out along the boards in that first period.
Wayne Sutter has come out on right wing. The Islanders will have two centermen on the ice for corner faceoffs in their end, and that's so that if one of them is chased by the linesman for improperly lining up, they have another centerman to take the draw. But Sutter is now back out on his right wing side as the play comes into the Flyer zone, and we'll have a face-off in Flyer territory. And a little pushing and shoving between Linsman and Sutter, and that brings in Jack McElhargy, number 29, the Derek Sanderson look-alike without a helmet. And the linesmen get them separated without any damage done. So we'll have a face-off to the left of Pete Peters. 18:33 to go, second period. More Stanley Cup action in a moment.
You see right there, the puck frozen in the corner, and when Sutter comes in and he gives Linsman here a little shove, Jack McElhargy, 29, will always come to his protection. They like to say Linsman's champion of the let's you and him fight, but he's a great hockey player.
He sure is. Linsman won the draw to Brian Prop to McElhargy. Around to the far boards, Holmgren taken out of the play by Lane. Gillies dumps it deep to the corner where Ben Wilson takes over for Philadelphia. Sutter cuts his pass off. The puck loose. McElhargy whacks it up the boards to Prop, and he knocks it out to center ice off the stick of Ken Morrow. Ken Morrow going for an unusual double, a gold medal in the Stanley Cup. Member of the U.S. Olympic team. Holmgren for Linsman. Linsman by himself over the line. Takes the shot. It's wide by 2 feet. Off the backboard, Sutter throws it behind his own net to Gordy Lane. Lane up to Gillies in his skates. He's checked now by Busnick pinching down. That's what Lou Nanne was talking about, and they get a face-off inside the Islander line. 2-2 the score. We've played nearly 3 minutes of the second period.
That Kenny Linsman just laid a very heavy check on Gordy Lane in the corner before that freezing of the puck along the boards. And this is Kenny Morrow that's just going off along with Gordy Lane. As we look at Ken Linsman, a first-round pick for Philadelphia last year. He played in Birmingham in the World Hockey Association. One of the great young hockey players and a player that's following along in the mold of Bobby Clark.
Here's a guy who's been a story, too, number 19.
And 2 big goals that last game. Timmy Heat comes out with that great forehand shot. When he comes down, he likes to go to his forehand, and he's got a great wrist shot that beat Billy Smith twice and sent his game to 6.
That's Rick McLeish, who's lost his spot as a regular centerman, but has been a key performer in the last couple of games. Busnick in the corner being checked by Langevin, and Wayne Merrick takes over. His pass deflected right to the goaltender, Smith. Ersan now sorting out the Islander attack. He's forechecked by Al Hill. Langevin drops it back to Persson. The Flyers with 2 men in deep, making it difficult for the Islanders to come out. That puck went into the Flyer bench and came back out, so play is called. Wayne Merrick, John Tonelli. The forwards with Gary Howitt going off and Bob Bourne coming on. Remember, Bob Nystrom, normally on this line, is still off, serving that 10-minute misconduct penalty taken back at 15-18 of the first period, along with the Flyers' Mel Bridgman.
The scoreboard enchanting these Islanders to get it going, as we had earlier looked at Stefan Persson, one of the Swedes playing over here and playing very well for the Islanders. A dangerous man, especially in that power play.
McLeish on the draw with Merrick. Merrick wins it. Dave Langevin, number 26, skates it out of the Islander zone. Around 2 Flyers. Still going. Off the boards, Langevin dumps it down into the Flyer zone. Back for it is Jimmy Watson. Watson playing with that sore shoulder. He was in some pain at the end of the first period. Tonelli is checked by McLeish, and Howitt takes it away from him. Howitt to Persson. Back for Gary Howitt, number 8, couldn't handle a pass. Busnick for the Flyers. Off the boards for Jimmy Watson. Watson over the Islander line. He's got Al Hill with him. Takes the shot against the grain, and Smith had to stretch back. That didn't look like it was a difficult save, but indeed it was. Langevin takes a long shot deflected by Watson, and it comes into the corner. Good hustle by Howard, who has the puck centering it. It comes to Pierce on the screen, shot high and wide. Off the backboards, Peters gets control. Well, he never really did have control, but he got a whistle from Bob Myers. Now, Howard pushing and shoving with Jimmy Watson and Reggie Leach. I'm not sure who Howard is trying to get to there, but he's going to get a little rest in the penalty box.
Well, that Gary Howard is tough in front of the net. He'll go after anybody. He was fighting for that puck. He saw the puck wasn't loose, and that's why he kept going. And right after that, Jimmy Watson gave him a shove, and he went back at him. We'll probably have double penalties here.
Definitely one to Howard going to the penalty box. And more Stanley Cup action in a moment.
Here they come, Elmer. The best-selling diesels in America. 21 different models.
That's Gary Howard sitting out his roughing penalty along with Jimmy Watson. It was a double penalty as the puck was supposedly frozen beside the net. Howard didn't see it that way. You see him coming behind the net right here, running into Watson. And now after the whistle, they'll start pushing each other a little bit. Pete Peters started it right there, giving Howard the stick. And Jimmy Watson did what every defenseman does, gets in front of the goaltender and doesn't let that player at your goaltender.
Face-off will be to the left of Pete Peters. The teams are 5 aside for the next 2 minutes. Clark's pass blocked by Bourne, but DuPont shoots it out to center ice. Number 5, the captain for the Islanders, Dennis Potvin. Potvin scored back in the first period to tie the game at 1. Islanders bring it in. Here's Bourne. Can't get through DuPont, and the loose puck gathered in by Reggie Leach. Leach skates it out for the Flyers, number 27. Clark breaking over the line. The pass to Clark broken up by Lorimer. Here comes Potvin. 3 Islanders up. Trottier and Bourne with him. Potvin along the line. Still has the puck. In deep around Reggie Leach. Cut off by DuPont. They collide behind the net. Trottier controls. Potvin can't get the shot away. There's a shot wide by Gillies. Gillies follows his own play, and DuPont comes up with it for the Flyers. Gillies checks him. The pass to the blue line. Potvin, good effort to keep it in. Throws it in deep. Gillies roaring around in the Flyers zone. Tied up now by Daly. And Bobby Clark takes it out. Gillies back checking on him. Forces him behind. Clark spinning, looking for an open man. Finds Reggie Leach. Right side pass intended for Daly. Poke check by Lane, and back in comes Goring for the Islanders. Number 21 drop pass to Lane. Lane back for Goring. Off the mark, goes behind the goal. Lorimer, screen shot, deflected in front. Goring checked by Clark, and they both go down. 2 very similar players, hard-working, ever skating. Butch Goring and Bobby Clark. Now it's Leach coming out. 35 seconds left in the twin penalties. Leach, a hot drive over the goal. Off the glass, taken by Lane. Lane skating out of his own zone. This is the best action game of the series this afternoon, Game 6. Goring over the line. Drop pass for Sutter as they change on the fly. Goring throws it in deep. Peters left it for Ben Wilson. Ben Wilson, the young defenseman, number 3. Nice move away from Sutter. 4 Flyers abreast. Barber over the line. Always dangerous. Bill Barber turned back by Morrow. Trying to center. Morrow still with him. And finally the puck out to center ice. Sutter trying to get loose, but he's stopped by Rick McLeish. McLeish, number 19, to Jimmy Watson. Watson into the slot for Barber, too well covered by Lane, and Merrick knocks the puck to the sideboards. The teams are back at full strength. Watson in the corner. Checked there by Morrow. Merrick comes in to try and keep the play alive. It comes loose, and Barber trying to center. Morrow checks it. That's Busnick in deep to the corner, the defenseman for Philadelphia. Checked by Lane. Barber trying to center is checked by Morrow. And finally, play is called. 14-17 to go here in this second period. A 2-2 tie. More Stanley Cup action in a moment. Next Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the CBS Sports Spectacular, heavyweight boxing action. Marty Monroe and Lynn Ball, 2 well-matched customers, should provide a great show from El Paso, Texas. Then slip off the gloves, grab a life jacket. Whitewater action, the Canoe Kayak World Championships. That's all next Saturday on the CBS Sports Spectacular, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Face-off coming up to the left of Billy Smith. There's Al Arbor behind the Islander bench as they try to nail down a Stanley Cup victory here at home. The 7th game necessary will be Tuesday night at Philadelphia. That home ice advantage earned by the Flyers, who finished first in the overall standings. A centering pass from Linseman is broken up by Persson. Linseman keeping it in again. Persson will try to organize the Islander attack. 2 forecheckers in deep at all times for Philadelphia. But Tonelli has room on the left wing. Number 27. John Tonelli gets around Klopp. Still has the puck, is checked by Watson, and Linseman takes over. Ken Linseman, number 14. Tonelli trying to get to him, but Watson took him neatly out of the play. Linseman, right side pass for Holmgren. Holmgren checked from behind and an offside as on the right wing. It was Ben Wilson ahead of the puck.
Well, Tim, just as you said, Watson took him neatly out of the play is exactly what the Flyers and Islanders do very well as we look at Big Ben Wilson going to the bench. They run interference real well. When the puck is thrown in, the wing, whoever's blocking a man on that side gets right in front of him and allows his defenseman or whoever's back there to pick up that puck and have time to move with it. This is a fella, Gary Howard, one of his strengths is running interference whenever that puck is thrown into his zone. And this is something that the referees will allow even more in a playoff game like this. They won't call nearly as much interference because they know both sides are doing it and they want to keep the action going.
Gary Howard and Jimmy Watson back from their roughing penalties taken early in this period. A little slow action on the change over at the Philadelphia bench, and Jimmy Watson comes back out. And a valiant effort by that veteran and great leader he is on this team, along with Bobby Clark, particularly, kind of considered the heart of the Flyers. There's League President John Ziegler with his hands folded, enjoying this Stanley Cup tension, and that's what it is here at the Nassau Coliseum. 2-2 the score. Tim Ryan with Lou Nanne and Dan Kelly on the CBS Sports special presentation of Stanley Cup final game number 6. Islanders leading the series 3-2. Butch Goring against Linseman on this faceoff as we're finally ready to go. The home team has the final change of players, and each coach will try and somehow get the advantage if they can. And the referee and linesmen have their hands full trying to keep the numbers counted. Sutter on the right wing. Left side pass for Gillies. Trying to get around Wilson. Wilson plays him well, but there'll be a penalty. Played him a little too well. As the Flyers get possession, play is called, and Ben Wilson will get a penalty as Gillies try to bull his way to the net. 13:21 to go here in this second period. The Islanders will have a power play opportunity. More Stanley Cup action in a moment.
Well, Big Ben Wilson, one of the strongest men in the league and one of the toughest, has his hands full trying to block Clark Gillies after Gillies takes a shot, goes for the rebound. Wilson right there pulls him down. Referee Bob Meyer sends him out for holding, and the Islanders have a chance to, with this man advantage, to go ahead 3-2.
13:21 to go in the second period. 6 men against 5 for the Islanders. Face off on the rim of the circle to the right of Pete Peters. Bobby Clark and Brian Trottier, what a face-off duel they've been having throughout this series. Mike Bossy complaining about the Flyer defender lining up offside against him. That's Andre Dupont. Islanders win the draw, but they can't keep it inside the line. There wasn't quite enough room. So Persson gets everybody onside. And Persson trying to find an open man. His pass intercepted by Daly, who clears it down to the Islander zone. Good job by Bob Daly. 1:44 left in the penalty. Potvin will bring them up. Off to Trottier. Trottier shooting it in, trying to get it around, and he does. Bobby Bourne lets it come to the defenseman. Persson in deep to the corner to Trottier. Trottier to Bossy. Bossy back for Bourne to the blue line. Persson. Persson to Bourne. Bourne for Bossy in front. Trying to stuff it in the short side. Peters checked him, but Bossy keeps going. Bossy beating the blue line again. Persson lets it fly. Tip-in try. Save Peters. Rebound. Potvin controlling. Race for the loose puck. Persson beats Dupont to it. Bossy in the corner to Trottier. Out to Bourne. Left shot. He banned on a Bossy score. Mike Bossy. And the Islanders with a power play goal go and play 3-2.
And that's one time when you like to see a man stand on a shot. As Bourne stands on a shot when Daly's falling and just slides by, and the ever-dangerous Mike Bossy right in front of the net gets a backhand goal on goaltender Pete Peters to put the Islanders ahead. Here's a shot, it's fanned by Daly. Bossy gets it right in front, and he quickly beats Peters, and the Islanders lead 3-2. We see Daly out here going out to block the shot. First he cleans the front of the net. Now it's just a quick backhand goal right there. This place is going crazy. That's Trottier behind the net who's already set a scoring record. Feeding it out. And the backhand shot by Bossy in the slot puts the Islanders ahead.
Well, even Miss Piggy is happy here at the Nassau Coliseum. Bosse, his 10th goal of the playoffs, comes at 7:34 of the second period, and the Islanders have a 3-2 lead. That is not very much the way this game has been going and the way these two teams have been going at each other. We've got a long way to go. The Islander fans can smell a Stanley Cup victory, but really, there's just too much time left in this game. The way they've been playing here this afternoon, a one-goal margin isn't very much at all, Lou.
You're right, Tim, especially when you look at that Flyer lineup with Barber and Leach and Clark and Linsman, and you look back at the Islander lineup and they have fellas like Gillies and Trottier and Bosse, people that can score. This game could have a few more goals yet.
The second power play goal scored by the Islanders in 5 tries in the game thus far. And they have been really scoring power play goals at a great rate during this final series. Nystrom backhands it in. Nystrom and Bridgman have completed their 10-minute misconduct penalties and are back out of the action. This is Jimmy Watson, number 20. Ahead on the left wing for Al Hill, too far. Morrow slaps it to Nystrom, who backhands it over the line. Watson out to Bridgman at center right. Intended for Al Hill, too well covered by Gordy Lane. A puck rolling into the Islander zone. Rookie Ken Morrow to Lane. Lane ahead to Tonelli, intercepted by Bridgman, and the pass to Hill hit him in the skates. The Islanders bring it out. Wayne Merritt, right side feed to Tonelli on his off wing. Trying to get through Kent, but Merritt throws it in deep. Picked up by Busnick for the Flyers, number 28. Out the right side to Bridgman. Bridgman's got skating room over center ice. He's got McLeish and Hill with him. The pass to Hill. Hill the drive, and it's deflected by Morrow and goes off the glass. McLeish to the blue line. Wilson screenshot block. Here's a chance for Tonelli as it rebounded. Trying to get loose. He's pulled down from behind. And there'll be a penalty again to the Flyers as John Tonelli was pulled down from behind by Jack McElhargy, number 29.
And we talk about workers. There's a fellow right there, Tonelli, who's breaking away from McElhargy, but has to be pulled down or he's home free. He never stops working.
So the Islanders with another power play chance for Stanley Cup action in a moment.
I'd like to talk to you about the Sony Betamax and an incredible feature called Betascan. I'm Tom Williams Sr., and if you know tennis, you know my son. Here's a cassette of his last championship match. Betascan lets me go fast forward and reverse, so I can skip the boring stuff like this long rally and stop when I come to the real exciting parts, like Tom Jr. here dashing onto the court to pick up the ball. Isn't Betamax terrific? It lets you see what you've been missing and miss what you don't want to see. It's from Sony, the one and only.
This is the 6th power play opportunity for the Islanders in this game. And Lou, that's got to be a big factor for the Philadelphia Flyers. They've given the Islanders the extra man 6 times.
It certainly has, and here's a tireless Tonelli making it happen because he just never quit working.
All right, the Islanders with a face-off in the Flyer zone have Trottier, Bourne, Bosse, Potvin, Persson out there. Trottier to Potvin. To Stefan Persson, watched by Barber. Fires it around behind the goal for Trottier. He likes to work from there on the power play. Off to Bourne. Potvin at the blue line. The pass for Bosse, trying to steer it in. He didn't get control. And Bill Barber for the Flyers shoots it down. Potvin going back for the loose puck with Bridgman right on his tail, and he sidestepped a check as he outguessed Bridgman. The puck at center ice is loose, and Daly for the Flyers will clear it into Islander territory. 1:26 left in the penalty to Jack McElhargy. Persson to Trottier. Trottier over the Flyer line. Offside is Clark Gillies ahead of the puck carrier into the Flyer zone. 1:19 remaining in the Philadelphia penalty.
And that's what the Flyers, when they're working well on a man at disadvantage, do very well. They stand up and they don't allow you to come in their zone. This big fella, Clark Gillies, gets a puck in your zone. He can control those boards and corners and find a loose man. So that Philadelphia defense has to stand up, make the Islanders make a play before the blue line and not let him in. Otherwise, they're going to be giving them some dangerous opportunities. And with this guy, Reggie Leach, out there, whenever Philadelphia gets the puck, even though they're a man short, they'll attempt to score because Bobby Clark and Reggie Leach do it as well as anybody when they're shorthanded.
Face-off at the Flyer line. Butch Goring now with Gillies and Sutter. Sutter, the rookie, got himself a goal in the disputed offside in the first period. Potvin is checked and hit the goal post. The crossbar, Reggie Leach let it fly from the blue line, and it went off Bill Smith's stick off the crossbar, and the Flyers nearly tied it up shorthanded. It's cleared down the ice now by Philadelphia's Busnick. Smith holds it up there for Potvin. Lou, that was a good check at center ice on Potvin that started the play, and what a shot by Leach. Meanwhile, here comes Sutter with a break. The shot saved by Peters, and he holds on. Well, now Jimmy Watson and Sutter having a few words with each other. 44 seconds left in the penalty to McIlhargey. Well, Busnick and Gillies get the sticks up at each other.
Well, Gillies is not going to let anybody get close to Sutter.
Let's go back to that play by Leach. Lou, it was good checking by the shorthanded Flyers that led to the goal-scoring opportunity.
That's right, and Reggie Leach with that bullet shot of his is dangerous from anywhere. He let it fly with a little screen, and Billy Smith, who had earlier lost one after he got one on the shaft, probably saw it at the last second. This is a later chance by Sutter when he came in alone. This is a fine play by Potvin. Sutter coming in, Peters challenged him to make the save, but Leach had earlier shot the puck. It hit Billy Smith, hit the pipe, and came right down to allow the Islanders to get free on a play like that and let Sutter home free for his chance.
44 seconds to go in the Flyer penalty. The Islanders lead it 3-2, 9:58 to go in the second period. Tim Ryan, Lou Nanne, and Dan Kelly here, and there's a cigar-chewing Islander fan. Here's the Nassau Coliseum. Kelly hasn't lit one up yet. He won't till the game's over, will he, Lou?
Not yet. You know, Tim, Billy Smith has tied a record today for most playoff appearances with Kenny Dryden, and he's also got those most wins of 14. Here's another fellow, Brian Trottier, number 19, the Islanders' great draft choice back in '74 in the second round, who has set a playoff record for most points today, breaking Esposito and Mihalovic's record by 2. He now has 29.
All right, he's on the draw out there against Bobby Clark, and the Flyers control but fail to get it out. Pearson deep to the corner for Trottier. It jumped off the boards, and he couldn't get it. Now Jimmy Watson up the boards for Leach, and Leach clears it down to the Islander end. 30 seconds left in the penalty. The Islanders will have time for one more rush. Potvin will bring it up as the Flyers change the penalty-killing unit. Bridgman and Barber are on. Potvin over the Flyer line. The pass to Bourne. Bourne back for Potvin, but he's stopped by Daly. Brings it around, tried to stuff it, and Peters made a real good stop at the post. Now Bridgman has it and brings it out. Bridgman had Barber trailing. Drop pass to Barber. Barber in on goal. Checked from behind by Potvin. And Bossy trying to get loose. 5 seconds left in the penalty. Trottier and Bourne over the line. Trottier drops to Bourne. Bobby Bourne slowly back to Bossy. Trottier behind the net. The penalty to McIlhargey is over. In the near corner, Bourne is checked by Bridgman, who stole a puck. Bridgman passing off to Barber. The teams are back at full strength. Barber's pass for Daly too far. Pearson cuts that off. Trottier is checked inside his own zone by Barber. Morrow to Bossy. Bossy's checked by Bridgman. The puck comes to Dupont, and Bridgman goes down, and there are going to be penalties for both Bridgman and Bossy. And Bridgman got the elbows up into Bossy, and Bossy tripped Bridgman, and they will both get penalties. And we have had a bunch of them in this hockey game thus far. 8:50 to go here in the second period. The Islanders with a 3-2 lead. More Stanley Cup action in a moment. Well, we've got some great action coming up here on CBS Sports Saturday, June 7th. The French Open Tennis Championships for the first time on CBS. Saturday, June 7th. You'll be there as the greatest tennis players in the world compete. And then at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, also Saturday, the Atlanta Golf Classic. And at 5 o'clock, the final jewel in racing's Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes. And everybody will be watching the filly again. So that's the story on Saturday, June 7th. Great action on CBS Sports. The teams are 5 aside, Bridgman and Bossy. Bridgman for roughing, Bossy for high sticking, both going off at 11:10 of this second period. Morrow breaks up the pass intended for Busnick, and Nystrom takes the puck away from Wilson. Nystrom in on goal. Saved by Peters. The puck dribbles by through the crease on the far side. And Ben Wilson passing it off now to Holmgren. Great effort by Nystrom on the play, and another good save by the rookie goalie. Morrow takes a heavy check from Holmgren. And the Islanders come out. Lauren Henning, number 10, to Nystrom. Over the Flyer line. The pass to Lane. Lane the shot, and that's wide. And the puck comes to the blue line. Morrow. He lets it fly. Saved by Peters. Rebound Ben Wilson for the Flyers. Can't get it out. Ken Morrow moves into the slot. The shot. Pad saved by Peters. The puck goes and he dives on the rebound. The Islanders swarming around in the Flyer zone.
And there's the hard work by Bobby Nystrom, a fellow that's made himself a very good hockey player, breaking in alone only to be foiled by Peters, who stood his ground. He stole that puck from Busnick. He's another fella just like Paul Holmgren, 17 of the Flyers. They are fellas that just made themselves great hockey players and leaders on their respective hockey clubs. And Peters had to be sensational as the Islanders put on tremendous pressure in the last minute.
1:05 remaining in the twin penalties to Bridgman and Bossy. A face-off coming up in the Flyer zone. We'll see that last action again. That was following Nystrom's play as Peters had to make another couple of good saves, including that one there on Ken Morrow. We're back live in action in the Flyer zone. Tim Ryan with Lou Nanne and Dan Kelly. Stanley Cup game number 6, and it has been the best game of the series. You CBS fans are seeing the best action by far of the entire 6 games so far. Bob Lorimer touching the puck. It'll be an icing call against the Philadelphia Flyers. 46 seconds left in the penalties.
Tim, it's no secret why these two clubs are here. They're so similar. They've got great inspiration on their team, and they've got good leadership. They're very well disciplined. They never stop working. Two coaches like Al Arbor there and Pat Quinn that are respectively coach of the years in the last 2 years. They're solid throughout and deserve to be here.
Goring got the draw. Longevin's high shot caught by Pete Peters. We saw Mike Bossy in the penalty box. He doesn't get there too often. Went in with that altercation with Bridgman. He's got 10 points in this final series, 4 goals and 6 assists. He only needs 2 more to tie the Stanley Cup series record held by the great Gordie Howe and 2 Montreal Canadiens, Yvan Cournoyer and Jacques Lemaire.
Many people forget that Bossy's a fine all-around hockey player. They look at him, they think just score, but he's exceptional with the puck. He's very intelligent. He makes good plays and a great skater. He's a fellow that was drafted 15th a couple years back by the Islanders just to steal at that position and has come on to be one of the top gunners, if not the best in the league at this time.
And a better defensive player than he's given credit for, too. Trottier won the draw. Lorimer right on, and Peters makes the chest save. He was in good position. Lorimer drilled it right at him. 39 seconds left in the twin penalties. A 3-2 hockey game, and it's tension-filled. Another look at that shot by Lorimer. All right. Trottier wins a draw. Lorimer tees it up again. The drive and a stick save by Peters. Rebound to Potvin. Bouncing puck taken by DuPont. DuPont to Bobby Clark. Clark brings it over the Islander line. Dipsy-doodling and sandwiched by Bourne and Lorimer. Smith leaves it behind the net for Bourne. Bourne to the corner. 2 Flyers in there. Taken away. Leach to DuPont. His shot deflected by Bourne and goes wide. Trottier shoots it down to the Flyer zone. And this will be an icing call against the New York Islanders with 10 seconds remaining in the penalties to Mel Bridgman and Michael Bossy.
Well, each coach going head-to-head with their leading player, Trottier for the Islanders and Clark for the Flyers at center ice. And, you know, when you look at those 2 players, you see Clark 8-9 years ago when Trottier comes out. 8-9 years from now, they'll still be playing the same way. Clark is a type of player every coach in the league should have the privilege of having 1 year. He just by himself will not let anybody else stay on a club and not work because they look at him as a sensational player, never stops working. He just leads by example. And this kid, Brian Trottier, does the same thing for the Islanders.
Brian Trottier, as we mentioned a couple of times, a leading scorer in the playoffs, has had his problems in the playoffs before after having great regular seasons, been somewhat of a playoff bust, but this series, this season, he's been terrific. Busnick's drive right on, and Billy Smith makes a stop on that as he had a good clear look at it. You know, when you shoot that puck from the blue line, you hope that there's going to be somebody in front, either obscuring the view of the goaltender or perhaps somebody tipping it in.
Right, Tim, and that's why a defenseman shouldn't worry about scoring a goal, just putting it on net, because you never know what's going to happen while that puck's in flight.
4 seconds left in the twin penalties. Islanders win the draw. The puck is loose. The shot just wide as Rick McLeish whirled and fired. Bridgman keeps it in, shooting it across in front. Nobody there. Trottier out the boards for Bossy, just off the mark as he saw Bossy break out of the penalty box, but the pass a little too far. Now the Islanders change on the go. Trottier gets Henning onside. His drop pass is stolen by McLeish as Nystrom didn't see it coming. Now Trottier back in over the Flyer line. Busnick breaks up the play, number 28. The teams are back at 6 aside. A steal by Tonelli. Tonelli goes in deep. John Tonelli, Nystrom fan on the shot as he tried to get it on the fly. Henning keeps it in. Henning, Nystrom, and Tonelli the line. And look at Nystrom work against Wilson again. Feeding Tonelli, the pass behind Nystrom, and it goes to Al Hill. Hill fans on one pass attempt, but keeps possession, number 15 for the Flyers. Cross ice to Busnick. Busnick turned back by Lauren Henning. Flyers have McLeish, Al Hill, and Mel Bridgman out there. Now they change on the go. The puck shot into the Islander zone. Langevin fires it all the way out to Nystrom. Nystrom at the blue line is met by DuPont. Backhands it to the goal mouth. Peters holds it up. In full flight is Brian Propp, the rookie number 26, roaring down. And there's going to be a penalty inside the Flyer line behind the plate. DuPont and Tonelli got their sticks up at each other. And DuPont now takes a swipe at Sutter as the linesman Ron Finn tries to keep him out of any further action. We've had a plethora of penalties in this hockey game, and we're going to have a couple of more. Tonelli and DuPont will both get the gate from referee Bob Myers. 5:38 to go here in this second period. The Islanders with a 3-2 lead in Stanley Cup game number 6. More Stanley Cup action in a moment.
Well, we got 2 double penalties to Tonelli and DuPont right there. They're each going to serve 4 minutes. And what has happened in this game, the Islanders are forechecking very strongly. They're frustrating the Flyer defense at this time, and that led to a couple of instances like you saw right there when DuPont high-stick Tonelli and he slashed back. Then they came back together again and roughed each other one more time. So referee Bob Myers has given them 4 minutes each.
Now he changed that to just 2 to Tonelli, Lou. It'll be DuPont for the first interference penalty. Tonelli got a slashing penalty for his retaliation. DuPont got a roughing penalty. So the Islanders wind up with the extra man. 14:32, the time of the penalties, and the Islanders come out on that one with an extra 2 minutes.
Well, they must have given DuPont 2 minutes more for roughing when he punched Dwayne Sutter in the face as he went to step in between Tonelli and DuPont.
I think you're right, Lou, because the first penalty was clearly interference. Tonelli's retaliation was a slash, and then a roughing penalty to DuPont, no doubt for the swipe he took at Dwayne Sutter. 5:38 to go in the second period.
Both these clubs very strong forechecking teams, and when either one of them gets on their game, as the Islanders are right now, they seem to frustrate the other team's defense especially.
Linseman and Lauren Henning, the teams will play 5 aside for the next 2 minutes, and then when the penalty to Tonelli expires, the Islanders will have the man advantage. Nystrom over to Lane. Lane over center ice. He hit Henning, gets it back again. He's got Nystrom offside, so he's got to keep the puck outside that blue line, and that might cost them, but back there to break up Holmgren's try to get loose is Morrow. Morrow stick handling well. The pass to Nystrom off his skate he couldn't handle. Puck comes right back to Morrow. He throws it over the line and is knocked down by Linseman. Holmgren at center ice shoots it into the Islander zone. Smith comes out to hold it up for Morrow. Morrow dumps it back to the corner. Lane is covered by Holmgren. But Henning picks it up for the Islanders, number 10. Good pass to Nystrom. One man back is Wilson. Nystrom trying to get around Wilson. Right in on the goaltender, Peters. He knocked him into the crossbar, trying to come in front, and play will be called. And now Wilson trying to get at Nystrom. He's checked from behind, and now Puntman takes Linseman, I believe. Yes, it is Linseman.
Oh, that was
and
good.
Peters, meanwhile, in that collision with Nystrom, went into the goalpost and the crossbar, and he is being attended to as the action goes on in front.
Well, I'll tell you, when Linseman came up behind Nystrom, here you'll see Nystrom come in and hit Peters. He knocks him into the post right there. He hit the back of his head. Now as Ben Wilson comes to Nystrom, Linseman comes up behind Nystrom and cross-checks Nystrom right in the back. And that sort of precipitated what we see right now, a little altercation going down on the ice as Potvin and Wilson get going a little bit.
Well, we have already had 72 minutes in penalties in this hockey game, and it has marred what has otherwise been an excellent game of hockey. As we said, the best game of the series by far from an action and from a well-played hockey point of view. But we have had far too many penalties, and of course they interrupt the flow of an otherwise good game. And here's the play again.
Nystrom tries to cut in front, and then he can't stop. He's trying to go in front. He loses the puck and hits Peters, and this could really hurt the Flyers because Peters has been sensational for these Flyers. He's a 22-year-old goaltender that is playing as well as any goaltender could be playing for a hockey club.
There's Pat Quinn looking on with some concern and some anger, obviously, and Phil Muir, you saw, come out there, the backup goalie today, to check on his goaltending partner. And once more we see it. You saw Nystrom was in too deep to pull the puck in front. And there's Wilson going at him, thinking it was deliberate. There's Linseman, number 14, cross-checking him from behind. Potvin comes in to take a shot at Linseman. And we'll get the penalties now.
Potvin will go off for charging and Linsman probably for cross-checking or interference. So they'll both be going off at this time as Dennis Potvin is already sitting in the penalty box right there. Potvin got very upset with Linsman when he came in behind Nystrom, and Peters is now getting back to his feet. What a goaltender this kid is going to be, and he is already.
Well, he hurt his hand back in the first period and stayed in there after being attended to by the trainer and probably the team doctor out there in the suit. This gentleman should be Dr. Ford, and electing to stay in again. Phil Muir, of course, ready to come in after playing 4 sensational games against your club in the semifinals. And you see they're checking his vision there. Obviously, that's the key thing for a goaltender.
Well, both these clubs knowing that they have to win today because the Islanders don't want to go back and play in Philadelphia for a 7th game. Philadelphia is great everywhere, and especially in their home ice. That's Phil Muir that you're looking at right there, goaltender that came over to these Philadelphia Flyers from St. Louis, previously with Atlanta, and before that, Montreal. A goaltender that came through exceptionally well all year long, and against the North Stars had 4 victories. Peters, however, wants to stay in the game. This is Chico Resch, goaltender that's limited action in the playoffs this year, but one of the fine goaltenders that the Islanders have had, and one of the reasons why they've been in the series this year, and one of the reasons why they've had such a successful franchise.
He has that little radio that goes up to the press box where the assistant coach, Bill McMillan, is there with Bert Marshall, the Indianapolis coach, who's serving as an assistant in this series, and general manager Bill Torrey. If they spot things in the pattern of play from upstairs, they relay it down to Chico Resch, and he passes it on to Al Armour. So Pete Peters is going to stay in there. Meanwhile, Ken Linseman and Dennis Potvin each received charging minor penalties, 2 minutes each at 15:09 of this now rather lengthy second period. We are now up to 76 minutes in penalties in the game. And there, as you can see, the Islander fans hoping their team can stay ahead. Coming next here on CBS, the Memorial Golf Tournament from Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio. That's Jack Nicklaus's course. He designed it. He's proud of the course and this tournament. And at last report, Miller Barber was the leader. We'll try and keep you updated on that. 4:51 remaining in the second period. Tim Ryan with Lou Nanne and Dan Kelly. Live Stanley Cup action, game number 6 from the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. Goring on the draw against McLeish. Remember, the Islanders will get the man advantage when the penalty to John Tonelli expires. And that has another minute 2 to go. McLeish over the line. The team's playing with 3 skaters each. McLeish's shot is blocked by Langevin. McLeish stick handling along the blue line, keeps the puck in the zone. McElhargy, good hustle down the boards for the Flyers. It comes off a crack in the glass, but Goring is there to prevent McLeish from making a play. Goring now gets it to Langevin. Goring, Lorimer, and Langevin against McLeish, McElhargy, and Busnick for the Flyers. Langevin brings it up, number 26. Another Minnesota-born player. Here's Lorimer with a chance and a good defensive play by McElhargy as Langevin banked it off the end boards. Now it's brought out by Busnick. Number 28, Mike Busnick, over the line by himself, and Langevin puts a good defensive play on him. The puck behind the net for Lorimer. Lorimer to Goring. Goring skates it out. He's got Langevin with him. The pass of Langevin just off the end of his stick. Langevin goes in deep. He's checked by Ben Wilson, number 3, passing out. The shot deflected by McLeish. Good play from Langevin to Trottier, and Rick McLeish with a good defensive move. Wilson brings it out. Ben Wilson shooting it in deep. Smith holds it up for Lane. 35 seconds left in Tonelli's penalty. 30 seconds remaining in the penalties to Linseman and Potvin. Here comes Morrow. Morrow the shot, and that just missed as Peters got a piece of it. Lane to Bossy. His shot deflected by Daly, and it goes over the glass and out of play.
Well, both clubs very aggressive when they were playing 3-man each. Both of them had a defenseman rushing with a forward. The Islanders, of course, trying to maintain a lead and expand it to 4-2, and Philadelphia trying to tie it up. As we look at Pete Peters, again, trying to take a breather, talking to referee Bob Myers and resting his sore hand. Each club are very aggressive whenever they get the puck. They don't like to sit back. They know they can't sit back. There's only 3:09 left in this period, and the Islanders have a power play and a chance to get that lead up to 4-2.
18 seconds remaining in the penalties to Linseman and Potvin. 1:31 remaining in the penalty to Andre Dupont of Philadelphia. Now the Islanders with 4 skaters against 3. Trottier against Bobby Clark. Face off to the right of Pete Peters in the Flyer zone. And there is a walking Stanley Cup. One of the fans who got a Stanley Cup costume. Lane keeps it in. Gordy Lane to Persson. Can't get the shot away. Checked now by Daly on the pass. Daly with Clark breaking. Trying to feed Clark. Clark in on goal. A shot. Half saved by Billy Smith. A bouncing puck. Clark made a good effort to get that shot away. Here's Trottier back the other way. The Potvin too far. Potvin digs it out of the corner boards as he just came out of the penalty box. To Persson. To Bossy. Bossy the shot, and it's blocked in front. The rebound to Linseman. Slaps it behind the Flyer net. Bourne to Trottier. Banned on a shot. Trying to come in the short side. And Peters covers up in the crease.
Here's Bobby Clark going in alone on a bouncing puck. He knew he had to get the shot away because Lane was coming. And Billy Smith stood there and didn't give him any angles to shoot. And made the save as the Islanders cleared the puck and came down for their own chance. There's a replica of the Stanley Cup somewhat.
Tremendous end-to-end action here in this Stanley Cup 6, and Peters comes up big again. Trottier never really got the shot off that he wanted. He tried to pull it in front and give himself a backhander from close range, but he lost the puck off the end of his stick, and Peters nailed it down with his glove in the crease. We have 54 seconds left in Philadelphia's penalty to Andre Dupont. The Islanders now 6 men against 5 as the penalties to Linseman and Potvin have expired. Face off to the right of Peters. Trottier won the draw to Persson. Persson to Bossy. Bossy to Trottier. Trottier to Potvin. A pass too hard. With Potvin breaking, he had to stretch back and couldn't keep it in the zone. Now they get them onside. Bossy stick handling. Back over the Flyer line. Bossy's pass off the skate. Picked up by Bourne. Bourne the shot. Stick save. Rebound. And Peters with another good stop. Covers up before Bourne can get the second try.
Well, Bobby Bourne, with as quick legs as there are in the league, breaks around the outside, goes to his forehand, and takes a shot on Peters. And Peters very wisely fell on that puck because Bourne was following that rebound up and would have had a chance to put it by him. Pete Peters doing an exceptional job in the nets again for the Philadelphia Flyers, and Billy Smith doing the same whenever he's challenged for the Islanders. Here's Bourne going to the outside. Very quick, takes a shot using Wilson for a screen, goes around him to try and get the rebound, but Peters falling on it right there to get the face-off to his left.
32 seconds left in Dupont's penalty. Face-off to the left of Peters. And there's that replica Stanley Cup. The real one is here, by the way, but will not be brought into view unless the Islanders win it today. Persson to Sutter. Sutter intended for Goring, and Barber broke it up. A bouncing puck, and Persson slapped it off the glass, but it comes out to center ice. Goring back for it for the Islanders, number 21. Barber in pursuit, forces him deep. 13 seconds left. They'll have to hurry to get one more rush for the extra man. Out the right side to Potvin. Potvin brings it up. Ahead for Gillies, offside. As the puck preceded Gillies into the Flyer zone. 5 seconds left in Dupont's penalty.
Well, these Flyers have had a lot of opportunity to kill off penalties, and that's why they were so good at it during the season. However, the Islanders found something in the way they killed penalties and have been successful scoring against them up until today because they've had a lot of chances, but these Flyers have given them a couple goals but killed off about 5 or 6 others, and this is why this game is so close. Both clubs exceptional with their special teams, power play and penalty killing during these playoffs, and very solid throughout. Dangerous whether they're short or not.
In this period alone, the Islanders have had 3 power play chances. They have scored on 1. The goal by Bossy that sent them ahead 3-2. We'll be coming up in our second intermission, chatting with playoff scoring leader Brian Trottier. At the end of this second period, we have 1:30 remaining, and the penalty to Dupont is over. The teams are at full strength. The pass to Nystrom, going deep to the Flyer corner. And it'll be an icing call against the New York Islanders.
Actually, Bob Nystrom touched that before the goal line. It was a 2-line pass, they call it. He beat Dupont to the puck and touched it. However, he was over the red line when that puck was passed from behind his blue line, and he touched it, so it brings it all the way back down there.
Right you are, Lou Nanne. An offside pass going over 2 lines, untouched by a member of the opposing team. And that is a no-no.
Tie in a close game, but those days are long gone.
Well, you know, the bad start did bring them a guy named Potvin, the first pick in the second year of the Islanders. And he's helped them an awful lot in their rapid climb to their great position now in the top two in the league, with the Flyers battling for the Stanley Cup. Flyers number 1 over the regular season. Islanders 5th in the regular season as the puck slides into Flyer territory with a minute left in the second period. Rick McLeish starts a rush. Will he go end to end? He could. He's not going to. Checked by Henning. Nystrom moving in with Tonelli. Nystrom and loads the shot. It went high. Daly goes to the puck. Rink wide to Al Hill. His pass intercepted by Henning. Scoops it in for Nystrom. Checked off the puck by Bobby Clark. Tireless out there. Clark. He goes to that puck. Came back to DuPont. 28 seconds left in the period. Daly takes a shot that tips off a stick. Nystrom with the puck. Islanders rush out for them at center. Tonelli. Got by Clark. Tonelli centering it. They score! Bob Nystrom. There's Nystrom and Tonelli.
4-2 with 14 seconds left in the second period. And John Tonelli sidestepped with a check by Bobby Clark on the board, goes around him, gets to the corner, and Bobby Nystrom, who had initially fed that puck to Tonelli, followed the play up right here. He goes to the front of the net as Tonelli breaks down to the corner, and as that pass is centered in front, here comes Nystrom. Stick on the ice where it should be, and beats Peters with only 14 seconds left.
Boy, what a clinic for youngsters on this play. The hard work, the dedication to stay on the play. Tonelli, Nystrom, as you said, stick on the ice in perfect position. He was not going to have much time to tee it up. He had to be ready, and he knocked it past Peters, who had no chance. 4-2. The crowd on its feet here at the Nassau Coliseum. The face-off at center ice, final seconds of the period. We'll be coming on with Brian Trottier of the Islanders. As this period comes to a close, Pusnik turned back by Trottier, and the period is over. The players did not even hear the final buzzer here in the second period because of the noise. And so, a standing ovation for the New York Islanders, who scored with 14 seconds left in the period, Bob Nystrom. And as we watch them go to the Islander dressing room to score at the end of 2 periods of play, the New York Islanders 4, the Philadelphia Flyers 2.
Those young faces. The biggest moment in the lives of these young athletes.
Now it's down to a 20-minute hockey game for the Islanders.
So the score at the end of the second period, the Islanders 4, the Flyers 2.
Last year, Jerry McGee outshot the field in the Kemper Open. Sports.
Back at the Nassau Coliseum, Uniondale, New York. 4-2, New York Islanders after 2 periods of play. If the Islanders go on and win this game, they will win the Stanley Cup, the first time in their 8-year history. If the Flyers come back and win, they would force a 7th game. Lou Nanne, the shots on goal, favor the Islanders at this point, 25-12. Yet they only have a 4-2 lead. Peters has really kept the Flyers in the game.
He certainly has, Dan, and one of the things that also indicates that the Islanders have had more opportunity on the power play, and usually when you're on a power play, you're going to get a great many chances.
You know, so far we've played real well, and I just hope it stays that way.
It's a long way back to the regular season, which I'm sure was not the most pleasant you've spent in the National Hockey League. Does all of this, the success in the playoffs for yourself personally and the team, kind of wipe that out?
Well, we definitely didn't have a very good season for one reason or another, but when we got into the playoffs, we had everybody back, was healthy, everybody was healthy, and we just felt if we went out there and we worked as hard as we could, we knew we had the talent, we knew we had a good hockey team, and we knew if we worked hard, we were going to get there, and here we are, and we're on the verge of winning it. So it's 20 minutes of hard work for us now, and we just got to put our heads down and just work.
The Islanders got 2 goals that the Flyers thought both shouldn't have counted. I thought they showed a lot of character getting back into a tie. What were the feelings when you went into the locker room at the end of 1?
Well, we know that Philadelphia has a lot of scoring power. They're a poised hockey team. They're not going to lose their composure under any conditions, and you know we strive to think that we're the same. You know, we were pretty confident at the end of the first period, you know, because we had some good scoring opportunities again,
And we figure as long as we're getting the effort and the chances are there, that you know, we're not going to let down at all.
You're getting quite an amount of opposition from that rookie goaltender, Pete Peters.
Yeah, he's an extremely good goaltender. You know, he's shown throughout the playoffs that he's the type of goaltender that almost dares you to score against him. He challenges you. He challenges the shooter very well. He doesn't commit himself on any moves. And he's got good legs that kick out to the sides on dekes, and he just stands his ground and plays his angles well.
Brian, there's always talk in hockey that a team that gives up a goal in the final minute of a period goes into that dressing room thinking about it. Do you think that's going to be an advantage for you, apart from the fact you've now got a 2-goal margin?
Well, it can work either way, Tim. You know, hopefully it'll knock them down and give us a lift, but it could make them mad at the same time. And you know, it could make us a little overconfident, but you know, we've experienced these things in the past, and hopefully we'll have learned from them.
How important is it to you to be the scoring leader in these playoffs?
As long as we win everything, Tim, it'll be super.
Well, you've had some tough times in the playoffs before, and I guess you've read all of the criticism about Bryan Trottier not coming up big in the playoffs. You've sure turned that around this year.
Well, I'm getting a lot of help. You know, the fact that Borny's putting the puck in the net throughout the playoffs has helped me, and he's had a super playoffs. He's gotten me the puck on numerous occasions. Boss has really played well in playoffs, as has Denny, and Clarkie has been super through all the series. And you know, when everybody's working on the ice, you know, I'll do well, and so will they and the team. So my success is through the team's success, and it always has been that way.
The Islanders, in just their 8th year in the National Hockey League, have been awfully close before. The first time they made it to the finals. You're now 20 minutes away with a 2-goal lead. Is anybody thinking champagne?
Well, I think that's human nature, but you know, we have to be smart about this. You know, we know that the 4th game is going to be the hardest game to win, and it's there's 20 minutes of hard work left, and the fellas are playing pretty well, and everybody is pretty excited.
Okay, we've got those 2 goals from that second period. We're going to see them again now. You were involved in the first one. It looks like it's coming up just now, we hope.
Here it is.
Perhaps you can describe it again, what happened.
Borny's yelling out in the slot. I just laid it out there. Borny got a shot at the net, but it deflected right onto Mike's stick on his backhand, and Mike made a super play by putting it in on his backhand, which is a shot that a lot of players don't use.
Here's Nystrom's goal from Tonelli. Hard work again by John Tonelli. Takes a check along the boards, keeps right on going. That's a common occurrence for him, isn't it?
Well, that's the key, you know, is if the players are willing to sacrifice themselves to make a goal, and John's done that throughout the playoffs, as is Bobby Nystrom, who's extremely strong in front of that net.
Well, it was a big goal with just 14 seconds left in the second period, and it gave the Islanders a 4-2 lead. Go get your well-earned rest between periods, Bryan Trottier. Congratulations on a super playoff.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Islanders scoring star and centerman Bryan Trottier. And the score at the end of 2 periods, the New York Islanders 4, the Philadelphia Flyers 2. We now pause for this word from your local stations.
And I would say most of the older goaltenders is that he can concentrate on what he has to do. He knows where the puck is, he knows who's shooting, he knows how to position himself. He plays his dots right on the ice, because as you know, a goaltender should play with the different marks that you have on the ice. If it's in a circle, he plays the dot or the cross of the face-off and things like that, pass that face-off dot, and he can do it so well. And another thing, after he positions himself, he challenges the shooters, and once they do shoot, he seems to be able to hold onto the puck. If there's a rebound, very seldom it's going to go more than 3 feet away from him. He can get it back, freeze the puck if he can, and if not, then he'll just slide it to the corner or pass it to a teammate to counterattack. He does everything well. He's good outside of the net. That he had. He can pass the puck. He can anticipate the guys that are going to shoot the puck around the board. Right now, I would say that he's among the top of the league, if not the best one. I've seen him enough, and I'd say that, you know, I might be partial, but he's a good one.
Jacques, you must watch the other goaltenders, too. Do you get the feeling that Billy Smith could be vulnerable today if the Flyers could get more shots?
Yes, you have to test him and come in on him, but he's got such a defense, the Islanders are playing very, very disciplined hockey, and very seldom you're going to have a shot dead on from him. You're always at an angle, and if you shoot at an angle with him, he's going to challenge you and then come out, and he's big enough, and he'll stand there and hold on his ground, and you can beat him. On long shot, the same thing. He'll stay outside of his goal crease, and then he'll challenge you. You have to be able to shoot at him from the hash mark or the top of the circle, the way Rick McLeish scored the 2 goals the other night, the way Perreault did with Buffalo, the way Paddock scored the other night. All those shots from the top of the circle or the hash mark are tough shots to handle. And Smith plays mostly on his knees when you slap the puck. He'll go down, cover the bottom and the middle. So the only thing left is the top, and that's the only place where you can shoot and beat them. And in order to get those shots, you got to be in a position to shoot. And the Islanders seems to know what we're trying to do. They just push us off, and there's nothing we can do.
Now you know everything about the two goaltenders playing this game. Is always an excellent insight from Jacques Plante. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don Cherry in the coach's corner with highlights of this Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final when we return to the Stanley Cup playoffs in just a minute. When we return to the Stanley Cup playoffs in just a minute. In this edition of Coach's Corner, I'll ask Don Cherry to repeat everything that Jacques Plante told me about Pete Peters and Billy Smith.
Wind him up, and he goes, doesn't he?
You've met your match.
I better believe it.
We'll give up without a fight.
French Don Cherry.
Let's have a look at some highlights. You want to talk about Bobby Clark on the Reggie Leach goal, the first goal.
Well, I'll tell you, Bobby doesn't even get an assist on this thing, and we're going to watch it on a monitor here. But this guy does so much. You never see him in the papers the next day. You watch him here now. Now watch him. He's up in the right-hand corner here. Now watch him go in front. They only got 3 guys out there. He ties this guy up. He's got a hold of his stick over here. Now watch. He gets this guy. He's got him all tied up. He can't go anywhere. Watch. He goes to the other guy now. He actually takes 2 guys out of the play. You'll never see his name. Crossed it goes. Nothing they can do about it. He's got 2. Look at them. I'll tell you, that guy's some hockey player. Must be dying right about now. He's some hockey player. Now let's take a look at that other goal that we were talking about, Potvins' goal. I don't know. Dave, you're not going to say much on it, but we're going to stop it here. I'm going to have to make a decision on this one. Look at this. I'll probably get in a lot of trouble over it, but I think it was over his shoulder. I really do. Watch. Here he's coming in. See how high it is there? I don't know, boy. Colorado and Washington, they'd call that one back. I'll tell you that right now. I think it was over his shoulder.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Well, you know, with me and the referees, anyhow, I should probably get him in a couple of years. But I thought it was all right. But Clark to me is the ultimate hockey player, and he's not a real personal friend. But the way he does it, his heart and soul, and he must be dying, like I say in the room right now.
Did the Nystrom goal effectively end this thing, or can Philadelphia come back?
You cannot. I'm telling you. Those guys are dying in there. In the last 30 seconds, the last minute, when you get scored on, you want to cry. You just want to cry. That's a killer. I'll tell you that one. I'm telling you, they're going to see what kind of heart they got now. Philly's got any heart to come back from that. They deserve the cup, I'll tell you.
What do they do to get more shots? Because as everybody has been saying, there have been 2 off the goalpost, off the crossbar from well out. But Smith really hasn't been tested all that much.
Well, I think they've got this thing that they have to shoot from far out, and you can beat Billy that way. But I don't know. Like Jacques says, every shot is at an angle. There's never any dynamite shots in front except for the prop goal. And like he says, they're playing. Al's got them playing in position. They're playing beautiful. I'll tell you. You know, what do they got? 12 shots or something in the Stanley Cup final. It's unbelievable for an offensive team like Philadelphia.
Does the discipline also show itself in the fact that the Islanders have taken far fewer penalties in the final?
Well, Joey Watchman's here. Give him heck about those 6 penalty power plays more. He wants me to get on here. But, you know, that last goal, Bobby Clark had the guy. You know, one of their defensemen get caught up. You hardly ever see an Islander defenseman get caught. Bobby tried to take the guy out, and he walked around him. But Joey Watson wanted to really give it to the referee, and I'm not, because maybe in a couple of years I'll have to coach again.
Now, does Arbor even go in the dressing room now to say anything, or does he just let all of this take care of itself?
I think, Al, he's in there right now smoking about 1 million cigarettes the way he does, and I think he's just trying to calm them down because they have the cup sugar pumps fairy dancing in their head. He's not in there trying to get them up. He's trying to get them down. You can see Clark here. He could hardly wait to get back in that dressing room. So I've been there before. It's tough, I'll tell you.
Well, what about Quinn? He got some things to say?
You know what I think he'd be saying? He's a great coach. I think he'd be saying, you got to score in that first 5 minutes. They've got to get a goal in that first 5 minutes to get themselves back in there.
Almost cut the period in half and say, let's get 1 by the 10-minute mark. At least you say 5, and then if you have to pull out everything, then go, right?
They got to gamble. They got to start gambling now. Get their guys pinching in and things like that, because if they ever get another one, she's game over the way the Islanders are playing.
Well, we understand the Philadelphia Flyers have taken the ice, and the Islanders won't be long, and we're a long way from the stands here, but listen to them. You can hear them in here, and I can't imagine that you could be talking to anybody 2 seats away out there as the Islanders make their appearance, and maybe the last time out of the dressing room this year for the New York Islanders, and you got to know they'll want to go back in there very quickly if they hold this lead. Let's go to Jim Robson, Gary Dornehoffer, and Dick Irvin.
Thank you, Dave Hodge. Well, Dave Hodge and Don Cherry, it is noisy here. As you see the crowd standing, saluting the Islanders coming on the ice. Their team with a 4-2 lead. Mike Bossy's goal on a power play. Trottier and Bourne were announced as the assist, but Stefan Persson was certainly in on it. Then the big goal, Nystrom from Tonelli, 1946. The shot totals on the left column is the period. The right column is the total in the game. The Flyers only have 12 shots in 2 periods.
Well, despite that, where there's life, there is hope. So we will remind you that should a 7th game be played, it will be Tuesday night at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Our start time, 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight. Dave said you didn't think you could sit a couple of seats away from somebody and hear the conversation. Could have been up by the concession stands where I just was. You couldn't be a couple of feet away from somebody. They were chanting, singing, hollering, walking around. I tell you, it was really something. And there is Joe Watson, who, of course, played in Colorado, broke his leg so badly a season ago. This year has been an advanced scout for the Flyers. Had many a pleasant conversation with Joe all around the National Hockey League this year. That just hitches up the fence.
Just mentioning it, Joe just had surgery a couple of days ago for some removal of a growth under his arm. Fortunately, not malignant. A lot of concern as Joe's had a...
We've got the beer. And by the Hartford and its independent agents who can protect your business, home, auto, and life.
We are back at the Nassau Coliseum. 3rd period just underway. Islanders lead 4-2. Here's Trottier getting the puck into the Philadelphia zone. Jammed up against the boards, and Daly for the Flyers to Bill Barber. Barber with a shot that goes off. Lorimer sticking up over the glass and into the crowd. That's Barber. We just started the 3rd period. The Islanders 4, Philadelphia 2. And if the Islanders go on to win, they will win the Stanley Cup. If the Flyers come back and pull it out, a 7th game will be played in Philadelphia Tuesday night. I'm Dan Kelly with Tim Ryan and Minnesota North Star General Manager Lou Nanne. And the scene is set for an interesting 3rd period, Mr. Nanne.
It certainly is, Dan, and some of the people out there you're going to have to watch for the Flyers. Reggie Leach with that dangerous shot. Billy Barber, a previous All-Star, that is always dangerous. He had scored 9 goals in the semifinal series. He's only got 1 in this series. He's always dangerous around the net. For the Islanders, that defensive Potvin, Lorimer, Langevin, Morrow, Lane, and Persson have to be tough in front of their net because there's less than 20 minutes to go for them to win this cup.
It is Clark with Kelly and Leach on the Flyer forward line. Out against Trottier, Bossy, and Bourne for New York. Leach couldn't get it into the Islander zone, and that's Busnick. Over to his defense partner, Wilson, to Clark. Scoops it in. Trottier back to fire it off the boards. Busnick held it in. Centers to Clark. Clark tied up by Potvin. Now Bourne squeezed in against the boards. Clark holding it in. Leach to the corner. And Potvin takes over for the Islanders to Trottier out of his reach. Wilson intercepts for Philadelphia. Here's Bossy. Number 22. Tied up by Kelly, and Kelly gives it to Ben Wilson. Wilson into the zone, but Reggie Leach just a half stride ahead puts the play offside at the Islander blue line.
You'll probably see Philadelphia gambling a great deal. They're down 2 goals. They've got to keep that puck in the Islander zone. Wings like Dwayne Sutter right here have got to make sure if that puck comes around the boards, they have to flip it out. Take a check to make a play. Make sure you get it out. Philadelphia will have to go every chance they get for those loose pucks and gamble as much as they can.
Linsman, Holmgren, and Kropp, the Flyer forward line. Here's Kenny Morrow. Shot one to center. DuPont knocked it down, and Goring pinned him against the boards. The Islander line is Goring, Sutter, and Clark Gillies, Gord Lane, and Ken Morrow on defense.
And Bill Torrey has probably made the best trade of anybody in the league this year by far by getting this Butch Goring, who's been a real big cog for these Islanders.
Here's Daly, number 2 to Linsman. Kenny Linsman for Philadelphia. Centers to Kropp. Lindsman took a whack at him. Now Sutter being checked by Lindsman, who got it loose to Holmgren. Propp couldn't handle the pass. Here's Daly. Wide. Lindsman to Propp. Shoots just wide as Propp broke his streak with that shot. Here's Bob Daly to Holmgren. He's number 17. To Lindsman. Centering one to Daly. Daly, a drive. He scores! Bob Daly with a shot from the point, and the Flyers are right back in the thick of it.
And Daly takes that big shot with Holmgren having done yeoman work previous to that, and then setting up camp beside Smith. They control the puck in the zone, and Daly getting that shot from the point beats Billy Smith on the goal stick side. Up high as Holmgren's fighting in front with Lane for position. This is where it all started. Holmgren to Lindsman, those two key players all year for the Flyers, develop the play, and Daly makes it happen with that shot from the blue line.
Bob Daly's fourth goal to the playoffs, and it narrows the Islander lead to 4-3. Here's Nystrom to Henning. Wilson breaks it up at the blue line. Now Nystrom trying to get around Wilson. Slides it back of the net. Busnick is back for Philadelphia. Henning on top of him. They jam into the corner. Tonelli now for New York. To Nystrom. Big save by Peters, sliding across to Rob Nystrom. Oh, and that 22-year-old rookie, Pete Peters, has been sensational. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment. That's Bob Nystrom, who just moments ago was robbed by Pete Peters.
And Nystrom had a fine feed by Tonelli, only to have Peters make that big save.
Here's Philadelphia trailing 4-3 as Bridgman dumps it in. Nystrom back for the Islanders. He'll into forecheck. Gets some help from McLeish. Then Wilson at the point, flipping it in. Flyers drop it to McLeish. Shoots, just missed with a quick wrist shot. Here's Hill. Tonelli tying him up. Back of the goal. Persson to Nystrom. Got it outside the line. Hill knocks it down, shoots it right back in for Philadelphia. Langevin, number 26, lead pass to Nystrom. Islanders in the lead, 4-3, and on the attack. Nystrom to Henning. Henning out in front, his shot went off escape. Centered again, McLeish knocked it down. Tonelli steals it. But Barber breaks that up. To Bridgman. The player kept in Bridgman. Going to be a penalty here for holding, I believe, against Bob Nystrom of New York.
Nystrom do hold. Bob Nystrom holding Billy Barber on the far side, not allowing Barber to get in. Finally pulled him down. Referee Bob Myers called him, and the Flyers have a chance now.
More Stanley Cup action in just a moment.
Here's a key play made by Bridgman on the ice, not allowing Nystrom to get a good shot away. He didn't get much on that puck, and Peters made the save. Otherwise, the Islanders could have gone 5-3. They come down the ice. Nystrom pulls down Barber, and now the Flyers have a power play advantage.
Holding to Nystrom at 3:20 here, the third period. That last Flyer scoring play, Daly from Lindsman and Holmgren at 1:47 to cut the Islander lead to 4-3. Here's Potvin for New York. Clearing one to center ice. Flyers on the power play. As Clark, number 16, controls. Into Barber. Squeezed out of the play by Lorimer, the Islander defenseman. Continuing to battle for it in the corner. And Barber and Lorimer won't give an inch. And they hold it there.
And the Islanders like that because they're killing the clock. With 1:32 to go in that power play, they just want to kill as much time as they can, so they'll keep fighting along those boards. That's Eddie Snyder and Keith Allen, the owner and general manager of these Philadelphia Flyers, the two people directly responsible for the tremendous success, along with Pat Quinn, their coach. Eddie Snyder, one of the brilliant owners in this league, who's just done a remarkable job promoting hockey in his own club.
Really has. Here's Trottier against Clark. 1:32 left in the Islander penalty to Nystrom. 4-3, Islanders lead. Potvin for the faceoff. Clears one, and Barber has to go back. Flyers are 1 for 2 on the power play today. They have the man advantage now as Daly stayed onside by keeping his foot on the line, dumped it in. Lorimer fired it out. Daly held it in. Here's Potvin. Conley getting it out of the Islander zone. Bobby Clark for Philadelphia. Shoots one. Pad save, rebound. Oh, and Leach had a poke at it, and Smith was able to stop that too. Daly held it in. Here's Lorimer. Slaps one all the way down the ice. 50 seconds left in Nystrom's penalty. Peters cleared it on the boards to Daly. To number 14, Kenny Lindstrom. The man they have nicknamed the Rat. He can fly. Lindstrom. Poke check by Morrow. And he cleared it to center. And Ben Wilson is back to get it. 30 seconds left in the penalty. That's Goring stealing it for New York. Lost it back, and the rookie prop, number 26, has it. To Wilson. Now to Lindstrom. Kenny Lindstrom. Nice play to Wilson. Shoots one. That's just wide. Smith never saw it. Here's Lindstrom to Wilson. A drive. And that deflects to the corner. Holmgren. Jack Morrow comes up with it for New York and cleared it to center ice. And the penalty to Nystrom has expired. Islanders have killed it off. That's Busnick in his own zone. To Wilson. To Holmgren. Lead pass to McLeish too far. Ken Morrow back to touch it. And icing called against Philadelphia. 14:27 left in regulation time.
Here's Bobby Clark taking a shot on that power play. Billy Smith making a save. Watch Leach come into this play. He's got the whole net if he can get it over. But Billy Smith makes a save. Reggie Leach being bothered by Potvin right there. Couldn't get it up and over and tie this game. How about that Kenny Morrow coming out of the Olympics, winning a gold medal right out of Bowling Green University, where there's 8 college players, by the way, from universities in the U.S. on both rosters today. Coming out, playing in the Olympics, winning the gold medal, and now getting the chance to win the Stanley Cup. Never been done before by anybody in the same year.
Morrow is from Flint, Michigan, but played college hockey at Bowling Green and has been quite a story. Here's McLeish. Lead pass to Paddock for Philadelphia. Back is Langevin around on the boards to Pearson. Pearson cleared it. Now McLeish to Bridgman back of the net. Bill Bridgman, the Flyer captain. Pearson skated him off, and Langevin couldn't get it out. McLeish knocked it down to DuPont. Shoot, they score! DuPont shot may have been deflected on the way through. And the Flyers tie it at 4-4.
And again, it's a tenacious forechecking by those forwards, Bridgman and Paddock up front, working hard along with McLeish to get that puck back to the point, and moves DuPont. Slaps that puck, and it looks right there as Bridgman coming across the front, gets his stick on it to put it by. Here's Paddock setting up in front, and here comes Bridgman. Watch this. He just touches it, I believe, right there.
He or the Islander defenseman.
One of the two changed directions, and Billy Smith had no chance. These Flyers don't say die.
Back to the live action. It's 4-4 here in the third period. Pearson for New York. Back of the net to Langevin. Now to Tonelli. Back again to Langevin. He's number 26. Dave Langevin cleared one to Henning. Paddock gets credited with the goal, so apparently he tipped it. Busnick is there behind the net. Now Bridgman trying to clear it. And does clear it outside the line. Lorimer for the Islanders in this 4-4 game. Giving it to Potvin to Henning. Broken up by Barber. Here's Potvin to Lorimer. Lorimer trying to clear one. Clark knocked it down. Clark and Lorimer battle for it. They get it to Nystrom. Nystrom into Trottier. It bounced over his stick, and Busnick comes back for Philadelphia to Clark. Over to Barber. Shoots. Smith makes the save. And cleared it over on the left wing to Howard. Leach ties him up. Leach and Trottier battle for it. Howard comes over to help out. But Clark has it for Philadelphia. Here's Trottier for New York. Slides it in. Daly back together. Couldn't clear it. Centered, but the Flyers break it up, and DuPont passes to Leach, who deflects it into the New York zone. Dennis Potvin. Number 5, the Islander captain, Tabasi. DuPont breaks it up. Potvin has it again. Lindsman skates him off, and here's Gary Howard. And Holmgren breaks that up for Philadelphia to Linsman. Out of Kropp, cleared it across the line and broken up by Lane. Here's Daly for Philadelphia. The number 6, Moose DuPont. To Bob Daly. Daly with a long shot. Smith steers that to the corner. And now play call back, and Gillies and Holmgren are going to get penalties, and they're going to go after each other. Paul Holmgren and Clark Gillies. That's a heavyweight bout if there ever was one.
I'll say those are two of the toughest guys in the league, and Clark Gillies and Paul Holmgren, both the leaders of their hockey club, getting a little upset with one another and going after each other. And the linesmen don't want to get in between those two right now, I'll tell you.
Now as they fall, in come the two linesmen, Leon Stickle and Ron Finn. Both Holmgren and Gillies were going to get a penalty anyway. They must have said, what the heck, let's make it worthwhile.
They were both getting, I believe, a high-sticking penalty. They came across it right about the top of the circle and gave each other a shot. They were going off, and Clark went over there at Paul, and they both started going at one another.
So Holmgren and Gillies are separated and will head for the penalty box. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment.
And the Flyers tie it up at 4-4. Right there you see the puck change direction. That's Paddock tied up with Persson going down. His stick had it earlier touched that puck and deflected it by Billy Smith.
We're down to 11:51 left in the third period. If it is tied after the third period, we would have an intermission and then play sudden death overtime. The last penalties, Holmgren a minor for cross-checking and a 5-minute major for fighting. Clark Gillies, as you see there, a 2-minute penalty for slashing, a 5-minute major for fighting at 8:09. Coincident majors involved, so the teams don't have to play shorthanded just without Holmgren and Gillies. And that last scoring play, Paddock got the goal, a second of the playoffs from DuPont and McLeish at 6:02. That's the goal that tied it at 4-4. Here's Gord Lang. DeBourne, who couldn't handle the pass, and Busnick, number 28 for the Flyers, gives it to Linsman. Trying to set up Kropp. Morrow knocked it down. Ben Wilson cleared it into the Islander zone. Here's Morrow. The bearded young Islander defenseman clearing it to center. Wilson intercepts. Dumped it right back in, and here's Lane. Another bearded Islander defenseman. Sutter clearing it to Goring. Busnick hustles back for Philadelphia. Over to the rookie Prop, trying to set up Linsman, too far, and Potvin for the Islanders. To Lorimer. Bob Lorimer to Butch Goring. And he was checked. Linsman for Philadelphia. Knocked flying by Potvin. Goring feeds rookie Dwayne Sutter. Penalty coming up back of the play against Linsman. Delayed penalty, but here's Sutter with a backhander wide of the net. Now Howitt coming up with the puck. Into the corner for Busnick. And as the Flyers get possession, now the penalty against Kenny Linsman of Philadelphia. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment.
There's Kenny Linsman sitting on a penalty. Dennis Potvin was coming over to hit him. Linsman went down. Right here you'll see Potvin coming into the screen. Linsman's going down. Potvin misses his check, goes into him as he gets up. You see referee Bob Myers right there when Kenny Linsman roughs up Dennis Potvin as he's turning away, but Bob Myers right there calls the penalty, and the Islanders are on the power play.
Linsman for roughing at 9:21. And the Islanders have a power play chance here. They have had 2 power play goals in this game. And have a man advantage right now as Persson, who's one of their point men, neatly gives it to Trottier to number 22, Bossy. Shot it in, but DuPont is there and cleared it to center. Number 7, Persson to Potvin. Potvin trying to quarterback this attack. Gets it through to Bourne. Back to Potvin. To Bourne in the corner. DuPont tied him up. Here's Potvin to Persson. Persson along the boards to Bossy. Back to Persson into Bourne. To Bossy, but intercepted by Leach and cleared away. And the Islanders have to go back. Here's Potvin. score. Here in the third period. Stefan Persson to Mike Bossy. And Barber breaks that up. Busnick then cleared it down the ice for Philadelphia. Back is John Tonelli, number 27. Busnick tried to head him off. Now Bridgman trying to stop Tonelli. Tonelli loses a stick but got the puck in the zone. The Flyers clear it. 35 seconds left in the penalty to Lindstrom. Here's Potvin for Trottier. To Dennis Potvin. To Trottier. Now to Persson. Persson, number 7, centers. Shot just wide by Sutter. Here's Tonelli firing it around on the boards. Persson. To Sutter. The rookie Dwayne Sutter. Holding on to the puck. To Persson. Back to Sutter. Lindsman's back on. Penalties up. Potvin shoots one. Bad save by Peters. On Potvin's shot, and it's cleared away. Trottier for the Islanders back together. To Tonelli. Now to Sutter. He's knocked down, and Moose Dupont, the veteran for Philadelphia, back to control it. Up the middle for Hill, who shot one to center. Hill picks it up again. Here's Al Hill. Flipping one through. McLeish in the corner. Drops it. Dupont shoots one. Billy Smith, a pad save with his left leg, and back comes Floro. To Howard. Too far ahead for him. Daly back for Philadelphia. And as he touches it, icing called against the New York Islanders. More Stanley Cup action in just a moment.
Got my pretty face in it. There's inside stuff on Larry Holmes, fight promoter Bob Arum, and a big picture spread on you.
Floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. They finally got wires that included our league.
June, Inside Sports, at your newsstand now.
Next time I want to be on the cover.
We are down to 7 minutes, 53 seconds left in regulation time. The New York Islanders 4, the Philadelphia Flyers 4. If they're tied at the end of this period, an intermission and then sudden death overtime. It's been quite a comeback here in the third period by the Flyers.
It's been quite a game all day long. We've had an up and down action, a great physical hockey game. 8 advantages for the Islanders, but the game is still tied 4-4 because of that Philadelphia penalty killing.
Here's Morrow. To Gord Lane, number 24. To Trottier. Trottier dumps it in. Peters clears it off, and Dupont has it for the Flyers. Moose Dupont dumps one into the Islander zone. Smith sets it up for Lane. On the boards for Howard. Daly knocked it down and shot it back behind the net. There's Propp, a chance. Smith came over to cover the short side. Now Daly shooting. That's a flex just wide. Wilson for the Flyers to Lindsman, who missed the open side. Here's Bridgman to Lindsman. The shot, and Smith makes a pad save. Lindsman again. Centers it, and Morrow for New York. Cleared one to center. Daly for Philadelphia. Lost it, and here comes Nystrom, number 23 for the Islanders. Knocked down on the play. Gets up. They jam up on the boards on this near side, and it's held there for a face-off in the Flyers zone.
Well, it was Billy Smith's turn to be spectacular as the Flyers putting on tremendous pressure with Lindsman and Bridgman having good opportunities, and Propp right there. But Billy Smith standing his ground keeps this game tied. And what a job this Bridgman is doing. He keeps shifting lines to line. Pat Quinn shifting his lines tremendously and going with 4 and 5 defensemen much more than he had at any time during this series. But Billy Smith looking a little tired right now, and Clark Gillies sitting out a major have to come up to do something because these Flyers are coming, and they're coming hard.
It was 4-2 Islanders after 2 periods. Bob Daly scored at 1:47 here in the third, and then John Paddock at 6:02 to tie it. There's Sutter for the Islanders, a shot. Sutter centering one. Loose near the goal crease and grabbed by Peters. And he held on.
Is it any wonder why these two hockey clubs are here? Great desire on both teams. Tremendous effort. They never stopped. They were like this all year long. especially the Philadelphia Flyers, who had 117 points, and those Islanders later on in the year, they came on and became the best at the end of the year. Here's a chance for the Islanders, but good defensive work by Paddock, the right wing, coming back in there to knock Howard down and allow Peters to freeze that puck.
That's Dennis Potvin, who's on the Islander defense with Lorimer, but here's Goring and Clark on a face-off. And it was McLeish at least, and McLeish got the draw, and here's Wilson back of the net. Flyers won that big face-off. Now they'll try and move it out. Over on the wing, and they do clear one to center. Here's Paddock racing after it with a backhander wide of the target. Now McLeish and Howard bump along the boards. Here's Lorimer to Goring. Wilson for the Flyers breaks it up, but now Lorimer. Bumped by Hill at the blue line. Dennis Potvin for New York. Here's Potvin. Carrying in. Potvin shoots one high off the glass. Goring to the corner. Back of the net to Sutter, out in front, and his shot hit Wilson. Howard trying to center one. Howard still with the puck. His shot blocked, and Bustek has it for Philadelphia. They gave it to Hill, who just cleared it into the Islanders' zone. Less than 6 minutes to play in regulation time. Islanders 4, Philadelphia 4. Trache, checked by Leach. Reggie Leach got it into the zone. Bossy breaks it up. Now Trache trying to clear it. Bossy gets away from DuPont. DuPont comes back to tie him up, and Bobby Clark has it for Philadelphia. Clark to Barber. Goes to the Islanders' zone. Lane, number 24, there to get it. And here is pass, goes to Bossy. 3-on-2, Islander break. Bossy to Bourne. Bourne checked by Daly, and a shot to center. Here's Morrow, firing it back in. Peters sets it up for DuPont. Over on the boards to Leach, quickly getting it to Clark. Back to Leach. Here's Leach trying to go around Lane. Morrow is there to intercept for New York. He gives it to Lauren Henning. Henning over to Bossy, chipped away by Wilson. Now back to the net. Daly takes Henning out of the play, and here's Linsman. Kenny Linsman into the Islander zone. Quick shot and a glove save by Smith after an end-to-end rush by Kenny Linsman. More Stanley Cup action in a moment. 4:38. Remember, our Memorial Golf Tournament from Dublin, Ohio will follow the Stanley Cup playoff game. We have 4:38 left in the third period. New York Islanders 4, Philadelphia Flyers 4. With Tim Ryan and Lou Nanne, Dan Kelly speaking. Face-off was going to be between Trache and Linsman. They're tossed out of there. So Holmgren and Lauren Henning will take the face-off. Henning out there as a center iceman or a winger, and he will take this face-off against Holmgren. Harbour usually in his own end has a couple of centers out there just for this reason. But they get the draw to Prop, and the shot was blocked by Potvin. Lorimer to Trache. Now to Henning. Henning, number 10. Ran into Nystrom. And Wilson is able to break it up, and here is Linsman. Cleared one in. Potvin knocked it down. Here's Tonelli for the Islanders. John Tonelli trying to get it in front. Does. Backhands it wide on the short side. Linsman trying to clear it. Lorimer to Potvin. Shooting it off the arm of Peters. Bustek in the corner. Trying to clear one. Nystrom held it in, but Linsman is there to clear up the center. Lorimer for the Islanders, shooting it back in. And it's offside. Henning was already in across the line. And in the upper right-hand corner, you saw the time remaining. 3:54 left in the third period.
And what a game that John Tonelli has played. He's been the best Islander by a country mile today. He never stops. He set up a couple goals. He had an excellent chance right there. He's one of those fellas that continually works. He's the type of fella that can break open a game at any time because he creates opportunities by getting those loose pucks. He forces loose pucks along the boards and in the corner.
Part of the crowd here at the Nassau Coliseum, Uniondale, New York. That's Rick McLeish. He'll take this face-off. Coming up against quick scoring. McLeish with a couple of big goals in Game 5 as the Flyers run to force this 6th game. And the crowd now is standing and applauding at the Nassau Coliseum. This has been the best game of the series, Nanne.
It certainly has, Dan. It's been one of the best games that you can see in the Stanley Cup final, semifinal, what have you. Very well played by both teams.
Here is Lane for the Islanders. Cleared it. McLeish got it back in. Morrow is there to shoot at the center, and now Moose DuPont slides it into the New York zone. That's Lane. Being forechecked by McLeish. Lane held on to the puck and gets it to the rookie Sutter. Sutter to number 9, Clark Gillies. He dumps it in. DuPont chases back for Philadelphia. Quickly to Bridgman, who's out on right wing with a line of McLeish at center, Hill on left wing, and Bridgman holds on to the puck, lets a shot go. That went to the corner. Sutter trying to clear it. Daly held it in. Here's Daly trying to make a play to Bridgman, who shot it wide as he was bumped by Gillies. Hot back to Sutter. Sutter trying to get around DuPont. Now Daly and Sutter go to the corner. Daly comes up with the puck. Cleared it. Hotback held it in. Shoots one. And a pad save by Peters on a shot that I believe was deflected. Big save by Peters. Comes into the Islander zone, and here's Lorimer, number 4. Bob Lorimer passing it to Potvin. Potvin to Bourne, and the play is just offside at the Flyer line. 2:33 left in regulation time, and it's tied at 4. More Stanley Cup action in a moment.
Here's a shot by Dennis Potvin that seemingly is tipped right there by Butch Goring. But that Peter Peters, what a sensational game and series he's had. He wasn't sure he had it, but he made the save, and that's all that counts.
2:30 left in regulation time, tied 4-4. Islanders in the Flyers. Puck in the Philadelphia zone. Clark clearing it around on the boards to Reggie Leach. He gets it to the line. Trache held it in. His shot stopped by Busnick to Leach. Breaks away, only Lorimer back. Leach with a shot, and Lorimer partially blocked it. Smith got the rest of it and held it for a faceoff.
And Leach didn't see Billy Barber coming late on the far side. He was so worried about the defenseman, he didn't have time to control that puck. That Barber was all alone on the left. Even though there was a back checker coming, he had a stride. And there's Bobby Clark. Just been in this position many times before. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's been in the finals and lost, and now he's here trying to keep these Flyers alive to go back for Game 7. And there's Kenny Morrow, a fellow that's known this kind of pressure just a couple of months ago at the Olympics in Lake Placid.
2:09 left in the third period. New York Islanders 4, Philadelphia Flyers 4. Clark and Trache on the faceoff. Morrow can't clear it. Here is Leach. His shot. And it's stopped and poked away by Smith. Morrow again. Got it to Bossy. Wilson held it in. Now Morrow to Bourne. Bourne dropping it back for Lane. Gord Lane to Bourne. He's checked by Holmgren. Lane has to go back and give it to Morrow. Now to Trache. He dumps it in, and the Islanders make a quick line change on the fly. Then Wilson passing to Busnick to Linsman. Number 14 is Kenny Linsman. Checked by Henning. And Henning cleared it into the center ice area. Wilson held it there. And play had been called. And with 1:26 remaining in the third period, a face-off coming up at the Islander blue line.
Well, the next goal will probably decide this game, even though there has been times in the past. One time, Bill Mosienko himself scored 3 goals in 21 seconds. But at this stage of the game, if anybody gets one, I think they're going to be able to hold on. And right now, for the Islanders, it means the Cup. For the Flyers, it means survival for a 7th game and a chance to win the Cup.
Again, if we are tied at the end of regulation time, we'd have an intermission and then sudden death overtime. McLeish, Bridgman, and Holmgren for Philadelphia. Henning, Tonelli, and Nystrom, the forward line for New York. Here's DuPont to Daly. He shoots it in. Lorimer, number 4 for the Islanders, back to get it. To Potvin. Now to Henning. Here's Lorne Henning. Trying to get around DuPont. Dropping it into the slot area. DuPont is there to clear it. Potvin held it in. No, he didn't. Came outside the line, says Ron Finn. No, it didn't, said Dennis Potvin.
And Ron Finn was standing right there, and he was going to make certain, because there's one thing you don't want to have
is a disputed goal right now, and he has perfect position. He made the call, and it's offside, and we'll have a face-off right outside the Flyer blue line. Here we'll see the puck come over to the far side. Linesman Ron Finn is right there. He can see it better than Potvin. It looks like it could be out. It's got to go all the way out. And Ron Finn was standing there, and he blew it out. One thing we have to talk about right now, Dan, Bob Daly and Moose Dupont have played just a tremendous amount of hockey for this Flyer hockey club, especially in the third period, and they've been exceptional. Bob Daly probably has played the best hockey of his life all through the Stanley Cup series, and especially now in the finals.
And with a bad shoulder that's going to need surgery whenever it's over. Less than a minute to play in the third period. Islanders 4, Flyers 4. Nystrom takes a pass from inside the Islander blue line, a two-line offside. And we're down to 53 seconds left in regulation time.
That's Bob Taylor, who used to goal for the Philadelphia Flyers, now does some radio and TV work for him, and a fellow in the blue suit, Frank Bay, one of the standbys of these Flyers. He played with the Flyers earlier in the year. He's a defenseman coming over to Philadelphia from Detroit. And there's Reggie Leach, probably the most dangerous fellow on the Flyer Hockey Club right now. Maybe not. If it's not him, it's got to be Billy Barber, number 7. Two of the guys that have been here, two of the fellas that know how to score goals, two of the fellas that really have the ability to score from anywhere with tremendous shots.
Lou, we welcome some stations who have just joined us expecting coverage of the Memorial Golf Tournament in Dublin, Ohio. We will be going to that at the conclusion of the Stanley Cup playoff game. And for those who have just joined us, it's the New York Islanders 4, the Philadelphia Flyers 4. We have 53 seconds left in the third period. If we're tied, then we would go to sudden death overtime. And we welcome those latecomers to our CBS Stanley Cup hockey coverage. Here's Clark, getting it to Leach, to Barber, moves in, Smith, a stick save. And Lorimer comes up with the rebound. Bob Lorimer, number 4. Tied up by Clark. Busnick trying to knock it down. Now it's in behind the Flyer goal, and Bob Daly, number 2, tried to clear it, gets it to Barber. Ahead to Leach. Off his stick, and Potvin cleared one. Clark knocked it down, and it's offside at the Islander blue line with 23 seconds left in regulation time.
Well, 23 seconds could send us into overtime if nobody scores, but it only takes one shot. And both of these clubs are capable of scoring and scoring quickly. The Islanders now coming out with big Clark Gillies to watch Reggie Leach on the left side. Butch Goring, a centerman that works the same feverish pace that Bobby Clark does probably. Yes, here he comes. He's out at center ice. And Dwayne Sutter on the right side to go against Billy Barber.
That's the matchup for the final 23 seconds of regulation time. Islanders 4, Flyers 4. On the faceoff, it comes into the Islander zone to Gord Lane. Cleared one to Gillies, all the way into the Flyer zone. Daly back to get it. They wave off the icing. Daly cleared it. Lane carried back in, offside, with 10 seconds now to play in the third period.
They waved the offside off because they felt Bob Daly could have played it before it crossed the goal line. That's something neither team wants to do right now. Get an icing, which would create a face-off in your own zone, because on face-offs, many times good opportunities are created. And with a fellow like Clark getting the draw back to Barber and Leach, they could have scored a goal. Had a good icing.
Now 7 seconds left. Busnick cleared it out. Gillies dumped it back in. Daly for the Flyers. Spins away from Sutter, and the regulation time comes to conclusion. We played 60 minutes. The game is still tied. The New York Islanders 4, the Philadelphia Flyers 4. And we will have an intermission and then have sudden death overtime. In the first period, Reggie Leach and Brian Propp scored for Philadelphia. As we see the Flyers head for their locker room, now the Islanders. Dennis Potvin and Dwayne Sutter scored in the first period for New York. Islanders took control of the second period. Got goals by Mike Bossy and Bob Nystrom to take a 4-2 lead. But the Flyers never say die. Got 2 goals in the third period by Bob Daly and by John Paddock to tie the game at 4-4. And that's the way we stand at this point after regulation time. Sudden death overtime still to come. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage will continue in just a minute.
With me is Guy Chouinard of the Atlanta Flames, the Calgary Flames. I don't think either is right because we talked to your prospective new owner, Nelson Scalabania, earlier today, and he said that the team will be renamed after a Name the Team contest. But let's get the feelings of one of the top players on the Atlanta Flames last season, Guy Chouinard, about the move.
Well, it wasn't really a shock. The press, everybody's been talking about the move to Calgary the last 5 or 6 weeks, so it wasn't really a shock. But when you think back that I spent 4 years there and some of the guys have spent 6, 7 years, it's you know, it's a bad feeling, but you know, it's nothing we can do about it now, and we'll go to Calgary, and hopefully there that will be a better hockey city.
Yeah, there is the thought that the building will be full, even though the building doesn't hold nearly as many seats as the Omni could, that the support will be there and into the future when the new arena is there. And I guess if there's a plus, the big plus to the move, it is that you're going to that sort of support. But what are the disappointing feelings about leaving Atlanta?
Well, Atlanta was a nice city. I think that probably in the league, half of the guys on the team had houses there and lived there 12 months a year, and that's exceptionally, you know, you don't see that in other teams in the league. And it was just a nice place to live. The weather was nice, not snow at all, and it was just a nice place around, and you'd make friends there. And it's always tough to...
The excitement you can have in Stanley Cup play overtime is coming. Stanley Cups often have unlikely heroes. John Paddock had 2 shifts in this hockey game, meaning 2 turns out on the ice. He came up with the goal that has sent this game into overtime. It came at 6:02. John, a tremendous thrill for you. You scored it enough early into the period to wonder, I guess, whether it would stand up.
Yeah, I wonder if it would stand up either way. I mean, I think we had them on a run a little bit. They came back. It's been a pretty even period, but, you know, it was early enough. I don't know the time, but either team could have come back and, you know, won the game in regulation time easily.
You got a chance to play originally in this series when Paul Holmgren got hurt. I know every player wants to get into Stanley Cup play. You've got several extra players on the flyer. What have been your thoughts in getting into this big one?
Well, we figured Tommy Gorence was hurt Thursday, that he wasn't going to be able to play today. Matt DePaul, the physiotherapist, said last night it was 99% sure he wasn't playing. So I was, you know, I was ready for the game. But today, not a little scare, would have been good for the team. TJ just about was ready to play with some tremendous work by Matty, who just about played today.
Well, listen, at the end of that second period, your team had gone down by 2 goals, including a goal scored with 14 seconds left. What did Pat Quinn tell you between periods?
Well, he just said we didn't have to open up, you know, yet. If we're still 2 behind with 10 minutes to go, then maybe we'd open up a little more. And he said that, you know, they hadn't won anything yet. There's still 20 minutes to go, and we just went out and just plugged away, tried to not panic, tried to not get frustrated, just play like we, you know, try and usually do.
John, it was a big goal as it turned out. Best of luck in the overtime and the rest of the way. You hope to be playing Tuesday night?
For sure. Thank you very much.
All right.
They had to come out quickly, take some chances, get some shots, and they tie it up.
Well, you know, the pseudo experts now will be saying the Islanders laid back. They didn't lay back. Philadelphia took over for them, and they were nervous. Like I said, they had the sugar plums dancing and everything like that. And the Flyers knew that they had to do something. They had to go, and they were loose. They had nothing to lose, and you know, they didn't lay back. It said the Flyers took over, and a couple of long shots again. You know, I don't even think he was screened on that one.
Well, you know that that's what the Flyers will try to do beginning overtime. If it was successful the third period, it might be successful again, unless the Islanders do what? What do they have to do?
Well, I think they got, you know, it got so in hockey now, you got to win it in the first 5 minutes. Used to go double overtimes and all that. Everybody goes all out for the first 5 minutes and tries to win the game, and that's what I think is going to happen. And they'll get their momentum back. You know, they'll get in the dressing room now and they'll get it all revved up again, you know. And listen, they got a young team there, and they've never been here before, and the Flyers have been there, and they know what they have to do. And you could just see them. When they got the puck, it was the sawdust started to drop out of their hands. They were so tight. But I think they're going to rev it up. I think it'll be over in the first 5 minutes.
In trying to pick which team will win, do you look at the goaltenders, how they played? Is that a pretty big indicator?
Peters is hot, like I was saying at the start there, and he's playing like he did in the first half of the season. He's got his confidence. Billy has played well on the close ones, but for some reason they're beating him on those long ones. I don't know. Peters looks pretty good to me.
Okay, let's play our game now. We need a player from each team to score the winning goal.
Well, you're doing it again to me, are you?
Well,
I don't know. With the Islanders, I don't know. I'm going to pick one out of the blue. I like Nystrom. I don't know why. He's Terry O'Reilly of the Islanders. I think that he might be the guy.
and for the Flyers?
Well, I don't know. You got so many guys on that team again. Leach hasn't done much, and I have an idea that he might come through.
I'll take Bossy and Rick McLeish.
Geez, you go right out of the blue on those two, right?
No, I think, well, we'll match goal totals, and I might be slightly ahead of your two, but we're coming up in a moment to talk to Andy Van Hellemond, who's the standby official.
Great guy, too. I knew him when he was Andy Hellemond in the American League, and he come to the National League. He's Andy Von Hellemond now. Well, that's how long ago I knew him.
I think he's royalty now.
Yeah, that's right.
That indicates?
You get up here.
Okay, I'll ask him about calling penalties in overtime, and his answer might be different than yours.
Okay.
Do you or don't you?
Well, I think listen, he's here, and I don't pull any punches. I think he had to call the one that he did before.
We'll get to that with him. What about...
Yeah, you got it. When there's something like that, I think, and he's going to say the same thing, when a guy's got a shot, guy pulls it down, you got to call it. But, you know, no cheap stuffs in overtime.
Okay. We'll get to Andy Van Hellemond and talk about the officials' role in what is about to take place. Overtime in the Stanley Cup final. And Stanley Cup 80 continues in just a moment. 4-4 as the Flyers score twice in the third period to force overtime, one or more periods at the Nassau Coliseum. And here is Andy Van Hellemond, notorious in Philadelphia for one call, the subject of much praise in a lot of other hockey cities for making the call under those circumstances. Obviously, you would say that if a penalty has to be called in overtime, it should be called. I'd like, from your viewpoint, to know what you went through after calling it. Is the first thing you do to check a tape to see?
Not at all. I haven't seen it. I shouldn't say I haven't seen it. I was home for the second game, and they started out the program with that. Was the first time I've seen it since I seen it in live action. One thing with us as referees, you concentrate. When you're on the ice, your concentration is your big thing. When you lose that, you know you're in trouble. So you go out, you're concentrating, and you more or less react to things, and you have to trust your own judgment. It's a penalty. It's a penalty, and that's more or less, that's about it.
There was no doubt in your mind that what you called should have been called?
Not at all.
Bob Myers is now thinking much the same thoughts as you would have been thinking in that situation. What goes through his mind? Is there any sort of a pep talk that he can give himself as to how to handle a game?
You work, you know, you got to be lucky. You can say you're good and you're this and that, but luck has got a big part. You get blocked out by a player, or somebody going off the ice bumps into you and knocks you out of the play, and the play ends up going up the ice and you're 3 lines behind it. All of a sudden something happens, there's a roar from the crowd, and you just can't call something you don't see. So luck's got a big part in it, and you just hope that you're right on top of the play and around the net. And should there be a penalty, like Don was saying earlier, you want it to be a good one, a scoring chance lost. However, with a stick foul or a high stick or a late hit, that's up to the referee himself.
Normally you would not think that there would be any fighting in this situation, but maybe you wouldn't have thought that it would have occurred at any time during this game. It has been a volatile game. Do you have that in mind? Try to calm people down, or do you let that go as it goes?
Well, the players are pretty worked up. They're, like Don says, they're revved up. They're out there. They react too. You know, you try and calm them down and say, listen, the big game is a big game, and they're reacting. They're just, whatever comes in their mind, they punch back, push back. So you have to call what the situation presents, really.
The crowd has been so loud all day long. Might that present any problems? Do you get to the point where somebody doesn't hear somebody else's whistle or something like that?
That could possibly be. As far as letting the crowd maybe influence your decisions, if you're concentrating, that dull noise or roar is start to finish. You don't really react any more differently.
Andy Van Hellemond, standby official today, watching Bob Myers work, and let us say from everybody I've talked to back home that the call you made is the call that should have been made and the call that every official, as Scotty Morrison said, and in Philadelphia we'll have to sit down.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Talk to a few people. Well, they're getting set now for the first overtime period. It was 2-2 at the end of one period, then the Islanders took a 4-2 lead, and everybody thought that right now we'd be watching the Islanders celebrate. We might still, but not yet. The Flyers coming back with 2 goals in the third period. An unlikely hero at this point, John Paddock, his second playoff goal in his second playoff game. Let's go to Jim Robson, Gary Dornehoffer, and Dick Irvin.
Thank you, Dave Hodge. It was 2-2 after 1. As you look at the score going into overtime, Leach and Potvin Sutter, and Prop. The goal scorers in that order in the first period. There's a look at the third period summary as the Flyers came back. Bossy and Nystrom had scored in the second for the Islanders. The big goal by Daly ignited the Flyer comeback. The deflection by Paddock on DuPont's shot tied it up.
During this intermission, this building has been the quietest it has been since about 5 minutes before the teams came on the ice to start the warm-up. This is the 13th overtime game this year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is a record. And the Islanders have now been in 7 of them. But if they don't win this one, they will be heading back to the Spectrum in Philadelphia for a 7th game. It will be played Tuesday night. And Hockey Night in Canada will have it for you, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It will be only it'll be the first time since 1971 that a final round has gone 7. The last time it happened, Montreal and Chicago. And that was 9 years ago. So here come the Islanders, who have played in 6 games previously in overtime this year. They have won 5 of them, lost just 1. You saw General Manager Bill Torrey urging his team on to bigger and bigger things as they now hit the ice, and they are receiving a big ovation. This is the 4th playoff game that's gone into overtime involving the Philadelphia Flyers this year. The Flyers' previous record, 2 wins and 1 loss. This is the Islanders' 7th, as we mentioned. The record for a team in 1 year is 8. The St. Louis Blues in 1968, Al Arbour was a defenseman on that team, playing under the coaching of Scotty Bowman. So, Gary, here we go. You can't go any farther. There is no looking back, especially for the
Philadelphia goals in the third period. You'll see the pass come from the corner off the boards to defenseman Bob Daly, number 2. He doesn't wait to tee it up. He takes that stick back and lets it fly on the go. A great shot over the stick arm of Billy Smith, the Islander goaler. It came at 1:47, and that made it 4-3. Now, rookie John Paddock, number 12, right there being bumped in front of the net. Deflected in the shot from the blue line by Andre DuPont. That came at 6:02 of the third period and tied it up. Neither team able to score what would have been the winning goal, or most likely would have been the winning goal. Instead, they are going into sudden death overtime. And for the call of the overtime period, let's go now to Dan Kelly and Lou Nanne.
Okay, Tim Ryan, and there you see Jimmy Watson with that collarbone injury. Apparently, he is finished for the rest of the game. And that will be a big loss for the Philadelphia Flyers as we move into sudden death overtime. The first team that scores wins the game. Here's Al Arbour, the Islander coach. If the Islanders score, they win the Stanley Cup for the first time in their 8-year history. If the Flyers score, a 7th game will be needed to decide the series in Philadelphia Tuesday night.
Well, Jimmy Watson went out in that third period. He didn't play any in the third period. Pat Quinn going with 4 and sometimes 5 defensemen. Most notably, Bob Daly, who's starting out there right now, number 2, and number 6, Moose DuPont, each of which was involved in the goal. Daly scoring 1 and DuPont having his shot deflected by Paddock that tied this game at 4-4.
And as Lou Nanne, the general manager of the Minnesota North Stars, our guest analyst today, joining Tim Ryan and myself here on Stanley Cup coverage. Here's the loose puck in the Islanders zone. Sudden death overtime underway as Potvin fires it to Trottier. Breaks in on left wing, but it's offside. And the crowd rose to its feet. When the whistle blows, they sit slowly back down.
Dan, in sudden death overtime, there's been a history of charting how long it takes, and usually approximately 80% of the time, the games end within 6 minutes. But earlier this year, the Islanders had to go into a second overtime to defeat the Buffalo Sabres.
Islanders have been in 6 overtime games this year. They've won 5, all on the road. Their only loss in sudden death overtime this year came at home. Flyers in 3 overtime games this year. They've won 2 and lost 1. Here's DuPont. Quick shot wide of the net. Smith cleared it away. Now Barber. Back of the net. Bobby Clark trying to dig it loose. Does center it. Bourne can't get it up. Leach held it in. His shot went wide. Here's Clark centering wide. Now Lorimer on the right wing boards for Bossy, number 22. Mike Bossy trying to go around DuPont. Trottier picked it up. DuPont breaks it up again. Here's DuPont to Clark. To Leach. Speeds in. Shoots one in. Well wide of the net. Loose puck. Islanders clear it. Here's Bossy. Fired one ahead to Clark Gillies. Daly back for Philadelphia. Daly number 2. Pulls away from Gillies. Leads the rush to center. Dumped it in. Linsman just missed getting to it. Linsman to the corner. Potvin checked him. Number 5, Dennis Potvin. To Bossy. Bossy clearing it in. Peters slides it out on left wing for Brian Kropp. Kropp shot it to center. Knocked down by Morrow. Here's Linsman stealing it. Linsman shoots Pete. And a stick save by Billy Smith on a tricky shot by Linsman. Here's Gillies, a long shot. That's wide. Sutter for the Islanders digs in. Ride to center. And Ben Wilson breaks it up and gives it to Holmgren. Checked by Tonelli. Here's Linsman to Kropp. Kropp scooping one through to Linsman. Morrow knocked it down with a high stick. And that causes a stoppage in play.
And Brian Kropp really laid a good check on Mike Bossy after he had thrown the puck into the Flyer zone and was headed to the bench. I'm not sure if he heard him or not, but Bossy got up slow and slowly went to the bench. That Kenny Linsman is right now, I'd say, as dangerous a player as he is on the ice. He's got exceptional speed, great quickness, and he makes those passes when you never anticipate him, many times behind his back. So the Flyers have a dynamite player in that Linsman. And for the Islanders, I'd be watching the speed of Bobby Bourne because he hasn't really gotten the opportunities that he usually gets with that kind of speed here today.
There's Pat Quinn, the Coach of the Year in the National Hockey League this year, winner of the Jack Adams Memorial Trophy. McLeish on a face-off, got the draw, but Henning gets the puck. Henning and Nystrom for the Islanders. Henning slides it in, digs in after it. Trying to center one, loose back of the goal. And the Flyers Busnick to number 15, Hill to McLeish. Rick McLeish. Bumped by Langevin, and then Persson for the Islanders clears one into the center ice area. Back goes Busnick. Busnick checked by Henning. Busnick has it again. Henning tying him up in the corner. Henning with some good forechecking. Islanders center it. Persson couldn't hold it in at the right point. Drops it back into his own zone to Langevin, number 26. Rounding the boards to Nystrom. He's number 23 to Henning. Henning checked by Daly. Daly loses his glove but got the puck, and the Flyers get it to Barber to Clark. Bobby Clark moves in, shoots high off the glass. Clark with a good chance. Now Clark again for the Flyers. Nystrom knocks it down, gets to center. Wilson breaks that up and gives it to Clark. He's checked by Tonelli. Wilson back to get it. Off the boards for Barber. Bill Barber, number 7. Crosses center, shoots it in. Smith sets it up for Potvin. Flyers change on the fly. Potvin to Bossy. Back to Dennis Potvin. He moves in, leaves it for Bossy. Shooting, and he shot it off a skate wide of the net. Bourne to the corner to Trottier. Linsman knocked it down to Kropp to Holmgren. Linsman trying to break through. Potvin breaks it up. Kropp knocks it down and held it in. Into the corner for Linsman, who fell. Gets up again, gets it to Holmgren. Holmgren behind the net to Linsman. Shoots one. Blocked in front of the net. And held by Billy Smith. Oh, and a big chance for the Philadelphia Flyers.
And that's one thing the Flyers do very well. Holmgren controls those boards behind the net all the time, and he frees himself to get the pass out to Linsman with a good shot and a save by Billy Smith, keeping it tied in overtime. But that Paul Holmgren is always dangerous along those boards in the corners because he continually comes up with that puck and creates opportunities for Kropp and Linsman.
Remember, next to Dublin, Ohio, in our coverage of the Memorial Golf Tournament. We've played 3 minutes and 29 seconds of sudden death overtime. New York Islanders 4, Philadelphia Flyers 4. That's Kenny Linsman. Ready for this face-off, which will be against Butch Goring to the left of the Islander goal. Goring gets the draw, and lane number 24. DeBoer trying to set up Goring. Daly intercepts. Daly for the Flyers, shot it to center. Bourne intercepting. Speeds into the Flyers zone. Daly knocked him down. And DuPont quickly cleared it out for Philadelphia. Here's Morrow. Shot one to the Flyer line. DuPont cleared it away, and it's called back on an offside. We've just played 4 minutes and 3 seconds of sudden death overtime now.
And both clubs changing very quickly. The players, of course, are tired, having gone through a very physical 1 hour of play. Each team looking for an opportunity, and the only way to get real good opportunities is be fresh and have a step on someone.
So the coach is changing these lines 30 to 40 seconds, getting fresh players out there, and trying to keep the momentum going, trying to create some opportunities that can end this game in a hurry.
McLeish, Hill, and Bridgman for Philadelphia. Goring, Gillies, and Sutter for the Islanders. Here's Busnick for Philadelphia, trying to clear it in. Loose puck to Hill. Gets it in front of the net. Smith comes out and grabbed it and then cleared it to Sutter. Close call there. Sutter shoots one to center. Here's Hill for Philadelphia, firing it back in, and he fired it up over the boards at the Philadelphia players' bench.
Well, with that puck floating in the air and Al Hill all alone, Billy Smith came out to meet him and play it, grab it, and push it ahead. This is Dave Longeman from St. Paul, Minnesota, one of the new additions to the Islanders this year. Here's Smith coming out with Al Hill all alone, grabbing that puck and playing it ahead. Here's Al Hill breaking in all alone. As that puck goes up, he reaches for it, but had he hit that puck over his shoulder, that wouldn't have counted for a goal.
Smith, meanwhile, got the glove on it. We're still in sudden death overtime. Here's Henning out with Nystrom and Tonelli clearing it in. Busnick for the Flyers back to get it. To Bridgman. Islanders, Tonelli. Squeezed out by Busnick. Now Bridgman into the corner, tying up Henning, and here comes McLeish, number 19 for Philadelphia. Rick McLeish fires it into the Islander zone. Langevin, number 26, moves it quickly to Persson. He gets it to center. Hill knocked it down there. Now along the boards, McLeish cleared it. Persson to Langevin. Dave Langevin clearing it in, and off Bob Daly sticking up over the boards right near the Islander bench.
Well, Coach Al Arbor's made a little change. He's got Lauren Henning centering Nystrom and Tonelli much more now. He used to have Wayne Merrick in there, but Henning, noted for his tough defensive type hockey, has seen a lot more action at this time.
They played 5 minutes and 8 seconds of sudden death overtime. Now the Islanders send out Trottier, Ford, and Bossing. Philadelphia with their big line of Clark, Barber, and Leach. Face-off just inside the Flyer line. Comes to Daly to DuPont. Now to Clark off his skate. Bourne flipped it into the corner. DuPont for Philadelphia. Trying to clear it and does. It goes off Lorimer, so there'll be no icing. Lorimer for the Islanders back to get it. Lorimer around on the right wing boards to Bossing. DuPont held it in at the point. Now Bossing. Number 22. Long shot high off the glass. Bourne digs in after it. Bob Bourne, checked by Daly back to the net. Now Barber knocked off the puck. Lorimer a shot. DuPont blocked it and cleared it away. Here's Bossy for New York. Islanders with pressure on. Hotbaz shot. Stopped by Daly. Daly to Barber. Out of his reach. And into the New York zone. Lorimer, number 4, has it for New York. Quickly on the boards for Trottier, number 19. Trottier's long shot. Peters handles that, sets it up for Wilson. Out to Propp, to Linzman, but Gillies intercepting. Clark Gillies to Sutter. Into Butch Goring. Goring with a chance. Shoots one, that deflects wide, and the Flyer goal is knocked loose as Sutter ran into it. And that causes a stoppage in play. The net knocked off its moorings, and that causes a stoppage in play. And sudden death overtime with the score Islanders 4, Flyers 4. Let's pause for a moment. Big face-off coming up to the left of the Philadelphia goal. Linzman against Goring. Flyers get the draw, and Wilson has it back to the zone net. To Linzman. He quickly scooped it to center. Morrow knocks it down. Ken Morrow sliding one into the corner. Wilson for Philadelphia. Trying to shoot it back out to Linzman. It goes into the Islander zone. Morrow back for the Islanders, and as he touches it, icing called, and a face-off back in the Philadelphia zone.
And Dan, that's something that they're going to have to guard against. When you're in overtime, many times you see the defenseman just shoot it out of the zone, try and get it out along the boards, play it off the glass so someone can't really get a good hold on it and play it. But oftentimes it goes down for icing. And when that happens, you're creating a critical situation, because on a draw like this with a fellow like Henning, should he win it and get nice from the shot, they can end that game. You want to keep the draws to a minimum in your own zone.
Henning, Tonelli, and Nystrom for the Islanders. It's going to be McLeish taking the face-off. On the face-off, Flyers come up with it, and DuPont gives it to Hill, number 15. Lead pass to Bridgman. Langevin for the Islanders breaks it up to Pearsall, to Henning. He directs it into the Philadelphia zone. Daly for Philadelphia. Hammered against the boards by Nystrom. And then DuPont is there to clear it away. Comes into the center ice area. Islanders number 10, Henning. To Tonelli. Here's Tonelli with Nystrom. The pass to Nystrom. He scores!
Another goal by Nystrom, and Nystrom, who continually scores big goals for this hockey club. He did it last year against the Rangers. He did it earlier this year in the playoffs against Buffalo. And he did it here again to bring the cup for the New York Islanders to Long Island for the first time in their history since they came in with an expansion in 1972. This hockey club has won the Stanley Cup.
The first time in the 8-year history. There you see Al Arbor out hugging some of his players. So up first, the Islanders with the Stanley Cup. An overtime goal by Bob Nystrom at 7:11 of sudden death overtime. Nystrom's second goal of the game, his 9th of the playoffs, and a goal that sends the Nassau Coliseum into a bedlam.
This is really something. Here's a club, the New York Islanders, built basically through the draft, through the genius of Bill Torrey, with the scouting help of Jim Devellano and Jerry Eman. A great coaching job by Al Arbor and Billy McMillan.
There's Kenny Morrow.
They come here and win the Stanley Cup. The first time the Cup has been in New York for 40 years, and they bring it to the island for the first time. As we see the traditional handshakes taking place. A great effort by both clubs. Two exceptional hockey teams.
There's the man who has a gold medal and his name on the Stanley Cup in the same year.
Number 6, Kenny Morrow. A fellow out of Bowling Green.
Think you'll remember 1980, Lou Nanne?
Well, I'm telling you, it's something that he'll never forget. He says, if I ever win the Cup, I just want to go away for the couple weeks and dream. He's already lived 2 dreams.
There's the man who got the overtime goal, Bob Nystrom. And the Islanders in sudden death overtime at 7:11 win 5-4. Win the series 4 games to 2 in just a tremendous hockey game. There's the Stanley Cup down on the ice, the oldest trophy competed for by professional athletes in North America. Goes away back to 1893.
And what a guy that scored the goal. That Bob Nystrom, as we said earlier, came up a late-round draft pick. He fought and worked and just consistently drove himself to become the hockey player he is today. And here he is, the toast of New York City, the toast of Long Island, the toast of all Islander hockey fans. And he got a great setup from that man right there with the beard, John Tonelli, number 27, a fellow out of the Toronto Marlies who learned his hockey in Southern Ontario, went to Houston in the World League, and then came over here to star for the New York Islanders.
Here is the big goal by Nystrom on a great setup by Tonelli.
Look at Tonelli, take a look. Nystrom just deflects it up and over. Peters on a great play by Tonelli and a smart move by Nystrom. Just change direction to that puck. Don't stop it. Put it away, and he did.
Jim Ryan is somewhere down on the ice. We hope to go to him momentarily. We're still awaiting the presentation of the Stanley Cup by National Hockey League President John Ziegler. And there is Dennis Potvin, the Islander captain. He calls his buddies over, the Islanders. NHL President John Ziegler.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now to present the Stanley Cup, the president of the National Hockey League, Mr. John A. Ziegler Jr.
There's some 15,000 people here, Lou Nanne. You're going to have about 50,000 people say, I was there.
That's right.
And you were there via CBS.
I'll guarantee you those players down there will remember they're there. It's got to be something that you dream about. A thrill. You take a fellow like Nystrom, as we said, born in Sweden, coming over to Canada, Western Canada, developing his hockey in the prairies,
coming up through New Haven, Connecticut in the American League, fighting hard for a position, coming here and becoming a hero along with all those other Islanders. The outstanding job done by Al Arbor and Bill Torrey.
Hey, Lou, let's say something about the Flyers. They were behind 4-2 going into the third period. They gave it a shot, tied the game, could have won the hockey game, and just played a splendid hockey game here today.
You can't say enough about that hockey club. They're as fine a hockey club as there is. They've got as good a tradition. You talk about the Montreal Canadiens having tradition. Those Flyers have tradition right now. And believe me, they came out there and gave it a big effort with crucial injuries to many of their hockey players. And very proudly came out here with a gallant effort today. And they'll be back. But there's Clark Gillies running around, just loving every minute of it. Something, as I said, every boy that's ever laced on a pair of skates dreams about.
Well, in Philadelphia, they know what the feeling is. They won it in 74 and 75. And here the Islanders win their first coveted piece of Lord Stanley silverware in 1980. A dramatic overtime goal. Bob Nystrom from Kennelly and Henning at 7-11. You think that Clark Gillies is happy?
There's a fella, another one of the draft choices, first-round draft choice of the New York Islanders. He was drafted in the same year as Brian Trottier, and what a drafting job that was. Two fellas like that come here, a big, crucial part of this hockey club, just developed through their own system. Another credit to this fine Islander organization. The same thing that the Islanders, or the Flyers, have done in the Montreal Canadiens. Outstanding efforts by their whole organization to bring that cup to the island today.
5-4, Islanders win a sudden death overtime goal by Bob Nystrom.
I say the congratulations, just marvelous.
Listen, there's nothing much I can say. I just don't want to be too far from that hockey team. That's the best. The best.
Okay. That tells it all, Denny Puckman. Brian Trottier is here.
That is Bob Bourne. A tough year for Bob Bourne. Off the ice, but on the ice, a great moment with his coach Al Arbor.
A sigh of relief from Coach Al Arbor. You know, it was a situation behind the bench. You wonder if you make the right moves. The fans, they're enjoying every minute of it.
The Islanders dressing room where they celebrate. Winning 5-4 in overtime. Bob Nystrom at 7-11 as they fill the cup.
We'll be going down to the Islander dressing room and talk to some of the players. You notice the champagne going into the Stanley Cup, which is, that's been a tradition for a long period of time. Bob Bourne, he enjoys his first taste.
That's Dave Langevin.
He got more than a taste.
That's Mike Bussey. Bobby Bourne.
Well, congratulations on that, well deserved. What can you say to the folks back home?
Well, we know that all of Saskatchewan, all of Southwest Saskatchewan and Bellemarie and Climax and Swift Current, can't forget Lethbridge and Alberta and BC. We got a lot of Western boys as well as people out in Eastern Canada. We know we could feel that they were behind us, and we know that this victory was for them as well as for everybody that was pulling for us.
Oh, you did a great job. Nice go. Okay.
That is Dwayne Sutter hopping the court. We'll be back in the Islanders dressing room with a special Stanley Cup show in just a moment. I'm Jim Robson with Gary Dornehoffer. Others on the Stanley Cup Hockey Night in Canada telecast are trying to get through that crowd to the dressing room. Dick Irvin, Dave Hodge. This is quite a thrill to be part of it. It's a great moment for the Islanders. Only 8 years in the National Hockey League. And when the franchise was awarded to Long Island, people said Long Island, but they're on the hockey map right now, and it's a great moment for them.
Well, not only that, but look at the fans. They've waited a long time for a team in New York to win a Stanley Cup, and they are rewarded this year. 40 years, that's a long wait. Every one of them, they're enjoying it, signifying we're number one. And
seeing at the start of the third period. It's a team with an awful lot of character, and they came back when no one expected them to send the game into overtime before Bob Bourne won it at 7-11 with that overtime goal.
And the cheering goes on, and you know this is going to be a wild time before this night is over.
Now let's hear from Dave Hodge.
With me is Bob Bourne, one of many happy New York Islanders. We talked about his trying season and what a way for it, Dan.
Oh, Dave, I mean, it just couldn't be any better. I mean, the way we've come back, you know, we had to come back and again. I mean, Philadelphia's coming on like that. I was really worried out there, but be damned if that Bobby Nyström doesn't come around and put her in that for it.
A few jitters when the Flyers came back to tie it, I'm sure.
Oh, no doubt, Dave. You know, we knew they were going to be tough in the third period, but we just didn't think we'd hold like that. We didn't think we'd back off, and I was a little worried because they got some good shooters out there.
Congratulations for all of your accomplishments.
Very much, sir.
Hey, trying to get Bobby Nyström, the winning goal scorer, the hero of the moment in New York and everywhere close to this city. Bobby had a big goal earlier in the game, but that wasn't enough. What a moment it must be for you.
I'll tell you, I just couldn't believe we blew the two-goal lead in the third period. But I just when we went into overtime, we've had the same attitude before, and tonight we had it again where we felt that someone was going to be a hero. And luckily enough, it turned out to be me because I played just terrible in Philly the other night. So it's a great feeling to make a contribution to the team like that.
I have to tell you two things. One, Don Cherry picked you to score the winning goal in overtime. He's had luck with you earlier. And the other thing I got to ask you is about 1972. You were drafted when this team was in its first season, and there were some awfully tough times, and they got to be going through your mind now.
Yeah, well, you know, it's amazing that we've improved steadily since then, but you know, 72 was a tough year. I was only here for 11 games, and I think the big change came when Al came in to be coach because he just changed the attitude. We weren't satisfied to lose or be close. We wanted to win. And this year was a tough year also, and we plugged it out, and no one can ever say that we came the easy way to the Stanley Cup because we went through a lot of darn good teams, and we worked hard for it.
Have a good summer. I'm sure you will every time you think of this day.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Bob Nyström scored the winner, and when talking about great seasons and big moments, here is Ken Morrow, who discussed the possibility a week ago of being on a U.S. Olympic team that won the gold medal at Lake Placid and then a Stanley Cup champion. Now it's happened. Now what do you think about it?
You know, right now this is a greater thrill. You know, with all the people out there looking at that cup, you know, that's got to be the greatest trophy in the world. And, you know, I just owe it all to these teammates. You know, I didn't do anything. I came in here and they put it all together.
What are you going to do to top this in a long National Hockey League career? There'll never be a year like this. You may win more of these, but never with the Olympic gold medal behind.
Maybe I'll have to lead the league in scoring or something, which would be possible, but I don't know, you know, maybe I'll have to retire or something after this.
On this day, anything you think you can do, I think you got a chance to do. Congratulations. Ken Morrow, and now we are ready, I believe, for the official presentation of the Conn Smythe Trophy. You have heard that Brian Trottier has set a playoff scoring record in total points, has won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and I turn it to the president of the National Hockey League, John Ziegler, to make it official.
Ryan, it was a great pleasure. Congratulations to your team. Great series, both teams, and you are the most valuable player. Well deserved.
Thank you very much, John. I'll tell you, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. The players and the management and the coaches, the wives, everybody pulled together when we needed it most. And you know, when people counted us out, we came through, and you know, it's through their efforts that I guess I deserve this.
Well done.
Brian Trottier, the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy. There have been scoring championships, there's a Stanley Cup, there's this, and there's a lot of years ahead for you, but I'm sure you don't want to think about that right now.
Well, the feeling I have right now is pride and respect for every one of the players and coaches, management, wives. I've already said it, and I mean, I'll cherish this moment as well as the next few days for the rest of my life.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much to John Ziegler. The victorious New York Islanders in their dressing room. Dwayne Sutter. I fulfill a promise. He said he wanted to say hello to the folks back home. A lot of brothers out there that are cheering along with you.
I'd like to say hello to everyone back home and all the people that helped me along the way in junior hockey in Red Deer and Lethbridge, Alberta. Thanks a lot. And hi, Mom and Dad.
And this was a season that started for you in junior hockey. We mentioned this, but now it's a reality.
What it's all about, right here.
Who could have imagined that a junior hockey player ends up right here today?
I never dreamed of this.
Good Good luck.
Thank you, Dave.
Now in the Philadelphia Flyers dressing room, we're close to it. Dick Irvin with a man who has won an award this year, Coach of the Year, and deserves great praise for everything he did all season long with the Philadelphia Flyers, including today. Dick and Pat Quinn.
Well, where there's a winner, there is a loser, and Pat Quinn, I know you and your Flyers have drawn the admiration of hockey fans, Pat, all across Canada. The way you came back the other night at home, tonight, or today here, your feelings, because you got to be proud of your hockey club.
Well, I am very, very proud of them. They gave it a good effort all the way. We kind of stunk in the first 2 games up here. Certainly it's not retrievable, but we'll look a long time at that. But I have the admiration, a lot of admiration for the hockey team down the road there, and they did a wonderful job. I wish it could have been us. It wasn't.
They did not sag. Don Cherry, who was with us on the show, as you know, said when they come out for that third period, they've got to get one quickly, meaning the Flyers, and that's exactly what you did. Could you sense that they were going to have a good third period?
Yeah, I've got a room full of winners, and unfortunately we're not winners tonight, but just winning and losing a series doesn't make you a winner or a loser. I've got a room full of winners. We did not win the Stanley Cup. I knew they weren't going to quit. They fought it all the way to the end, and well, the results are wrong as far as I'm concerned, but I'm very, very proud of them, and I'll never stop being.
I want you to say something for one of my favorite hockey players, but what can you say about Bobby Clark? I mean, that guy just...
Well, he's our leader. There's always has and will be for a long time to come. He shows by example. He's strong in the room, and he never died, and I think it picks a lot of us up. You know that there are leaders and followers on every hockey club, and we're starting to develop more leaders, and Bob is the #1.
Pat, very quickly, you were beaten by a pretty good hockey team.
Yes, we were. They possibly had the 5 best individuals for a power play, and the power play hurt us through the whole series. And as good as the penalty killing we have, they were just a little bit better, and I'm sure reflecting it may be the difference.
Pat, again, congratulations on a gallant losing effort. Pat Quinn of the Philadelphia Flyers. Now back to the Islanders and Dave Hodge.
Well, here's the winning coach, the Stanley Cup winning coach, Al Arbour, Coach of the Year last season. That has nothing on this, does it?
It certainly has, and I'll tell you, this is the greatest feeling in the world. I've won it a few times as a player, and this is my first one as a coach, and I'll tell you, there's nothing like it.
What did you say prior to the overtime? Did you come into the room and say anything that can be repeated?
Well, we went over briefly a couple of things in our end, and we like we always do in overtime, we just said, look, we're going after it. That's all we're going to do. As long as we have a man as a safety valve, we're going to pursue everything we can. We're going for it. That's it.
And what did you do when the puck went in the net off Nystrom's stick?
My heart stopped there for about 15 seconds. I'll tell you, it's been a frustrating season and just a great playoff. So how could you really put it in words?
I would think, not to put words into your mouth, but the hero Nystrom almost typifies this team and the effort that he gives.
It certainly does. He goes out there and he's made himself into a hockey player, works hard all the time, and he just gives his heart and soul on that ice, and he's come up with a lot of big overtime goals for us.
Al, have a good summer. You deserve it.
Thank you very much.
Al Arbour, the winning coach of the Stanley Cup. Here is Billy Smith, the controversial Billy Smith, and I'm not going to say that you used to be a backup to anybody. What do you feel?
I feel awful tired and awful glad because, hey, give them credit. They came back in the third period. They give us an awful scare, and we were fortunate enough to score it in overtime.
What was there a thought that, how do you play goal in a situation like that? I mean, are you thinking all the time about everything on the ice? Can you play it the same way you play any other game?
Oh, no, you can't. Like you saw how Tim and I played ever since in the playoffs. You can't play. You're so scared. You don't want to make a mistake. Your stomach's upset. And the main thing is you don't want to do anything that might cost the game for all the guys out in front of you. Because you saw how they played tonight. They bailed me out when I put them in the hole. We had 2 goals. We let 2 quick in. But they came right back the way they should.
What did you do or say when you saw the puck go in at the other end of the ice?
I didn't know what to do. All I knew was the game was over. That's all I wanted.
And you're the first one in here, as tradition suggests, right?
I had to get off my wet stuff. It was just killing me. Then I come in here and they drenched me again. But it was great. It really was great.
Thank you very much to Billy Smith. Jim Robson, take it away.
Thank you, David Hodge. Well, it's been an exciting day in Long Island, this 24th of May. There's why a Stanley Cup champion crowned in Long Island. Gary Dornehoffer, our last little contribution of the day.
I've really enjoyed the association of being with Hockey Night in Canada and watching and commenting, and it's been an exciting feeling. You can tell it's exciting because my shirt is soaking wet. When you have a game like this,
you know, sometimes you wish you were down there with them. But for the Islanders, congratulations. For the Flyers, a gallant effort, and you have to be proud of both teams.
There's the celebration in the Islanders dressing room. The crowd in the Nassau Coliseum, many of them still hanging around to savor the moment. Continue their celebration as they celebrate their first ever Stanley Cup and their two fine, evenly matched teams. And I'm not surprised that the deciding game goes overtime, and it would have not been surprised had it gone 7 games, because they're two similar teams, similar styles, similar character, and they provided a great moment in sports today. There's still some of the 15,000 plus hanging around, savoring the moment. And quite a moment it was as Bob Nystrom scored at 7 minutes and 11 seconds of overtime to give the New York Islanders the Stanley Cup final 4 games to 2. A great 6-game series. There's Chico Resch.
You know, there's an interesting story. Chico Resch, the forgotten man, but a real team leader. Looking at Billy Smith is doing the job. Let him stay right in there and do the job for us. You know, I have had my chances before and during the season. Go with a hot goaltender, and you're still a part of it. Chico, class man. Never forget that moment. The first one that I was involved in had the shoulder separation. I didn't know what was happening. Somebody told me the next day that we had won. But it's a feeling that will always stay with you, because look at how many have played in the league, Jim, and never had a chance to win the Stanley Cup.
There's Gary Howitt enjoying the champagne, and now here is Dave Hodge.
Have I had the Green Bay Packers with me, I couldn't have made it here any quicker. From the dressing room to the studio, we are saying goodbye for another season, an historic season of the National Hockey League. We saw 3 new teams added to the league who reside in Canada, Quebec, Winnipeg, and Edmonton, and we look forward to another new team in Canada next season, of course, in Calgary. We wish to thank all teams in the National Hockey League, particularly those who are in Canada, for their help, the players, the coaches, the management, and everybody connected with those hockey clubs. We thank our sponsors, primarily Molson Breweries Canada Limited, Ford Motor Company of Canada, Canadian General Electric, and the Canadian Tire Corporation, and we thank you, the viewers, for making this one hell of a way to make a living. So long till next season.
Live on CBC, Hockey Night in Canada, brought to you by Molson, Canada's name in beer since 1786. Brewers of Molson Canadian Lager Beer. Canadian General Electric, progress for people since 1882. Canadian Tire Dealers with 320 stores to serve you across Canada. And by the Ford Motor Company of Canada, on behalf of your Ford and Mercury dealers from coast to coast.
Proceeding has been a special presentation of ICENET, the Islanders Championship Entertainment Network.
National Security Brokerage is Long Island's community insurance brokerage, serving Long Island since 1982. We're the place to go for the best in home, auto, boat, cycle, and business insurance. Our experienced staff has over 40 years in the business, and we're also proud Long Islanders looking to bring you the best and most affordable coverage you can find. At National Security Brokerage, our clients are number one, and we promise you will always get the very best coverage tailored for your needs. We understand living on Long Island because we do too. We're all Islanders, and if you want Long Island's best team for insurance, go for National Security Brokerage. You'll feel secure with National Security Brokerage. Let's go Islanders!